An eye-patched stranger tells Flaffer to celebrate, because the chains are gone and she's finally a free woman. The story cuts to the former Saint Flaffer dropping to her knees as the proclamation blasts through the air, declaring her banished, right then and there. So yeah, Flaffer wasn't just any guy, he was the saint of the Kingdom of Harvest. A saint is basically a prayer-powered holy weapon of hope, and she can turn root-rotting rain into bright, sunny skies, then coax barren wastelands into thriving, fertile land. It's basically the backbone of the nation, so essential it's almost impossible to imagine the country without it. Flaffer grew up behind orphanage walls, with nobody to claim him. And when she turned 3, the orphanage was marked for demolition. While everyone else was kicked out of the country, she was the only one left behind. Because she carried holy power in her veins, they hauled her straight to the royal palace. But listen, things get grim fast. They shoved her into brutal dungeon confinement and there was no escape. Fed just once a day and now, out of nowhere, he's fueled enough to live, but he's still barely keeping his stamina from collapsing. That's where it hit her holy. The moment the power vanished, everything went dark. On the dungeon's bare, exposed floor, Flaffer was secretly planting and growing vegetables in the dirt. Somehow she managed to patch up what she was missing. Back in nutrition right down this way. Then His Majesty Jarful discovered the truth. Flaffer gets caught red-handed with her vegetables and the shock hits hard. Then someone dares to accuse her of using her holy power for selfish gain and the plants. Jarful tells her, if you've got time to pretend you're a farmer, then use that power, go do it. Strength forged purely to save the kingdom. Meanwhile, a guard scrutinizes the vegetables, then leans in and says they're surprisingly damn good. With Flaffer's holy powers gone for good, they cut her off from growing a single vegetable. A guard storms in at feeding time, snarls that she should savor every bite of the rotten slop, spits that she's useless trash, and then adds that it's. Flaffer stared at the spoiled food, breathing out in relief that it was still edible, because she knew she had to shove at least a little something into her stomach. Then the door to her cell swings open, wham, and a cold rain crashes in. She's left standing there soaking to the bone, water running down her face and body as the world outside hits her all at once. Meanwhile, Jarful stares down at Flaffer's collapsed, starving form with pure disgust, then spits that she's even scrawnier and just as creepy as he'd feared. He told her she wasn't worth a thing, calling her a total waste of space even at Ithia. Flaffer sprawls in agony, nauseous, while Jarful keeps talking, claiming she bent over backward to crown a piece of trash like her a saintess. Yet instead of paying that debt back, Flaffer somehow hoarded her holy power for herself. Jarful declares he'll deliver the perfect punishment, then commands her to brace herself. The whip slams down hard, and fast flappers raked forward, striking again and again. Tears poured down her face as the punishment hit. Once the beating finally stops, Jarful steps in, smirks, and tells her that without her holy power she's just trash now. Then he orders her to get out right this second. Flaffer shoots back in a weak voice, telling her not to worry, because in her current state she can't even muster the strength to leave the palace. But Jarful snaps back and says he'll get a carriage taker right up to the border, admitting that the other junk from her orphanage might still show up, and that there's a real chance of it. She's still alive out there beyond the borders, and if she keeps wandering long enough, there's a real chance she'll run into them again. Flaffer begs him with shaking hands to hold off for just a few days, just let her bask in the sun, and she swears her power will come back. But Jarful shuts her down hard, coldly telling her the decision is already made. He leans in and tells her, don't get it twisted, besides you there are tons of proper ones. Saintesses sat on the highest rungs of nobility. Then Flaffer snaps to it, those girls with next to no power are replacing the ones he counted on. And she's terrified they'll lock them up the same way they threw her behind bars. Right then, one of the noble saintesses snapped up and declared with full force that the audacity of putting a lowly base saintess like Flaffer on the same playing field as saintesses like her, highborn and noble, was downright presumptuous. The eye-patched figure snaps at Flaffer to climb into the carriage right now, and a noble woman reassures her, saying they'll deliver the sun's blessings from here on out, not toss out people like her anymore so she can finally rest easy. The talk's done, Flaffer gets yanked into the carriage, no escape left. As it starts to tear away, leaving everything behind, the eye-patched stranger orders her to shut her ears and finally hear the truth, the voices of the people, and face how worthless her life really is. Then the carriage rumbles out of the palace and Flaffer sits inside, shattered, broken, and fully defeated. The carriage rattles down the streets, hauling Flaffer toward the border while the crowd lines up and hurls insults like sparks. Someone shouts that their taxes got wasted on a woman like her, and another scoffs that she even has the nerve to call herself a saint. They spot her, and it's like the whole world holds its breath maybe. Something tore through the carriage window, and he blurted, "Look at her, she's just a bag of bones that were supposed to be proof of a saint." The crowd turns vicious fast, someone barks for her to get the hell out of the kingdom of harvest, while another spits that she better never come back. Flaffer slumps there, tears pouring down her face, and it finally hits her. Everything was for nothing. Someone catches Flaffer and blurts, "Hey, what's wrong? Are you car sick?" Staring at how pale she looks, and Flaffer shoots back that she's been feeling like she's going to be sick every week. The other person nods, then out of nowhere declares, "We're putting you out of her misery." Flaffer recoils in pure fear. She demands answers. Why would they do something like that? And he snaps back that she's nothing but a tax thief who's stolen from their country and that criminals have to pay for every sin. Flaffer panics and begs them to stop, but the carriage door swings open and she gets flung outside. She gets warned if she throws up in there, she's basically signing her own death warrant. The carriage driver snaps that he's heading out now, then grabs Flaffer's attention and orders her to do whatever it takes to stay alive. Flat collapses to the ground as the carriage wheels clatter away. Lying in the dirt, he thought, "This is it, my life ends right here." Consciousness fades. She clings to the hope of one last chance, and then poof, the carriage vanishes into the horizon. She can't forget that older brother she once had back in the orphanage. Realizing all she truly craved was one thing: to meet someone with it. Something jolts Flaffer's senses. She suddenly hears a sound. She lets out a faint, shaky sound as sensation crawls back into her body. Something brushes her arm and her focus snaps into place, and she spots a tiny, slime-like creature lurking right near her. Then the creature pounds him with brutal pain, forcing endless screams as it hurts him again and again. Suddenly, the scene flips to Flaffer sprawled in a bed while a guy stands right beside her, and he snaps at her to calm down. She'll feel better soon, only for Flaffer to demand who he is, totally confused and overwhelmed. The man flashes his credentials. He's the palace's top doctor, right under the king of Riverside, and then he tells her the real reason. His Majesty ordered him to inspect her. The doctor leans in and tells Flaffer, "If you can flash me that adorable little face, I'll say you're totally okay." Flaffer beams at the kindness, and the physician promises he'll go straight to His Majesty, but orders her to stay tucked in a little longer just to be safe. Flaffer lies there, mind racing, trying to make sense of everything. She remembers how the Harvest Kingdom kicked her out and how she was moments from dying on the roadside, until she suddenly fainted. She whips her head around this strange, unfamiliar room, Riverside Kingdom staring her down. Later, Flaffer jolts awake in the comfy bed, instantly realizing he's finally safe. She jolts upright, then starts pawing at the sheets like something's finally awake in her. She just stared in disbelief at how unbelievably soft everything is, then she grins and says it feels so insane, like pure fluff heaven. Then a voice whispers that she's finally awake. Two men loom in front of her, then one leans in and asks, "So, how are you feeling?" Flaffer tilts his head up and locks eyes with the man. His golden hair is dazzling and he's downright gorgeous. He tells her she was sprawled out in the wasteland, and for days she's just been out cold. But Flaffer just blurts out one more comment, like he can't stop talking about how Flaffer, it's insanely soft, like the bed is hugging you and you're loving every second. The man bursts out laughing and says he's actually checking on her health, not making it weird. Flaffer realizes she messed up, and when she hears the nausea is gone, she finally feels way better. She blurts, "Who are you? Are you the one who saved me?" And right as the question hits, someone else starts mourning her, watching her closely and clacking her tongue like, "So that's who you are." The man leaps in and introduces himself, His Majesty Force Riverside, the king of the Riverside Kingdom. Flaffer snaps in pure shock, because the person she's talking to is the king. Flaffer shot out a quick apology for her rudeness, then she cut herself off and he thanks her for saving him. But King Force tells her, "Don't worry." Even though he's basically a rookie king in name only, constantly getting rescued and propped up by everyone around him. So he demands an answer. Why was she crumpled out there in the middle of that lifeless wasteland? Flaffer freezes on the spot, unsure what to do. Then she figures deep down that he doesn't look like a bad person at all. But she can't shake the thought, what if telling him the truth blows everything up? Flaffer can't shake the fear this could still be the Harvest Kingdom, so he's probably watching to see if she'll accidentally spill something. King Force tells her if it's hard to put into words, don't force it, just don't answer. But he won't let this slide. He demands one answer. Does she think she can actually eat? Flaffer looks absolutely. He stared at the question, utterly baffled. King Force says, of course. And Flaffer blurts out, stammering, you mean with someone like me? He leans in and tells her, it's only natural, like that settles everything. Flaffer thanks him with all his heart. The story cuts to a lavish feast sprawled across the table, and Flaffer just freezes, staring at the mountains of food like, seriously, can I even eat all of this? King throws his hands toward the mountain of food and tells Flaffer, go on, don't hold back. The table groans under dishes stacked like she could eat for days. Flaffer takes one bite and her eyes spark with pure delight. She blurts out that she's never tasted anything this delicious in her life. King Forest calls her Lady Flaffer and demands to know how she's been managing her meals up to now. Flaffer tells us she had porridge, but it was so scorching she couldn't even use her hands to eat. Usually she'd just grab her food and he tore into the food with huge bites. Meanwhile, a fork flashes on screen as someone teaches the exact, proper way to use it. Flaffer shot a gaze up at King Force, emotion burning bright in her eyes. Stunned, he demanded to know how someone as grand as His Majesty could possibly be so kind to someone like her. King Force shoots back that he'll step in and help anyone who's in need. Of course it makes sense. He even admits he won't do it for just anybody. King Force stares, completely baffled, and fires back, wait, what are you talking about? Flaffer plops down at the table, grips her gratitude, and tells him that this meal should keep her alive for the next 3 days. But King Force leans in and tells her, don't worry, tomorrow too we'll have breakfast ready for you. He leans in and asks if she's sure, insisting she rest right here in the palace until her. King Force tells her, if you want this deal then you'd better heal up fast. Flaffer shoots back a grateful thank you, her voice ringing out with warmth. Her voice trembled as she accepted his order. A single tear finally welled up in her eye. The camera swings back as King Forest strides away from the table, leaving Flaffer sitting there all alone. The panel slams shut with a nighttime exterior shot of the palace, all dark and towering in the moonlight. Later, Flaffer sinks into an unbelievably soft bed, stunned that everything felt like a dream, and she swoons over how fluffy and plush the Fukin is, pure bliss. She stares at the memory of him towering by her bedside and realizes just what kind of soul His Majesty had forced himself to become. Catching her breath on the bed, she stares up at the ceiling and thinks, I've got to master knife and fork properly, because His Majesty really went out of his way to teach her. In the Kingdom of Harvest, a man barks out a greeting to Myri, and the white-haired girl who looks just like Flaffer steps into the garden, smiles at him and calls him uncle. Meanwhile, the story slams into the throne room where a noble saintess is partying with King Jarfel, gushing that it finally feels amazing to be done with that worthless trash, and not like that fraud from the orphanage. Then, with a duke's daughter's pride, she vows she'll prove the real power of a saint for the sake of the entire country. Then the noble saintess keeps going, pressing the king to raise the saint's compensation, when the court erupts in shock. But she insists, raise the reward and you'll spark the motivation, and she's convinced they can push the country even higher, making it more prosperous than ever. The king hesitates like he's bracing for bad news, and then, bam, rain starts pouring over the Kingdom of Harvest, where one man watches in awe and mutters that wonders still never quit. In the Kingdom of Riverside, Flaffer snaps awake in her bed, then a voice cuts in, calling for Lady Furifer, and a dark-haired maid rushes into the room. He greeted her with a warm good morning, like the start of something great. The maid steps in and introduces herself with a grin, Aqua, and vows she'll be the one taking care of Flaffer's every personal need. Flaffer mumbles a sleepy good morning, sounding half asleep and groggy. Aqua grabs Flaffer by the arm, drags her along, and guides her straight into the bathhouse, suggesting they start there and scrub her body spotless. Flaffer's jaw drops at the sight of this over-the-top bath. He can't believe what he's seeing. It's her first time ever in a place like this, and she can't believe her eyes. Hawkeye bursts in, beaming with pure excitement, and tells her. He tells her they can clean both her body and her clothes right here. Then he leans in and begs her to hand over her clothes. Aqua blurts out that she's basically Flaffer's caretaker, no one else is stepping in. But Flaffer can't stop wondering why she's being this kind to her. Aqua demands that Flaffer stop using all that polite talk with her. She wants Flaffer to drop the stress, toss the formalities out the window, and finally feel at ease. Flaffer swears she'll do her best not to sound so formal. Aqua blurted out her gratitude and thanked her right away. Aqua nods, promising she'll drop the stiff act too, and then she slips into the bath with Flaffer and teamed up with the other maids to scrub her clean. After his bath, Flaffer slipped into fresh clothes, stared at them like they were pure treasure, and started to say they're dressed so adorably, and Aqua leans in, saying the outfit fits her perfectly. Then Flaffer starts thanking her formally, stops mid-sentence and just blurts out thanks, tells Flaffer to stay in this room and make it her new world starting today. Then Flaffer whips around, staring in awe at the downright luxurious setup. After all that kindness, she decides it's time to repay the people of this country for everything they've done for her. She can't stop wondering, once a saint's power gets drained after the first use, does it ever come roaring back? Then Flaffer can't contain her excitement and blurts out that she wants to jump into farm work. And Aqua bursts with enthusiasm. She tells Flaffer she's got plenty to point out, and if she wants, she can use the farm hidden behind the royal palace. Aqua leans in and asks Flaffer straight up, does he know anything at all about farming? Aqua snaps that vegetables won't grow just because she shoves leaves in the ground, and she decides, I guess I can fix this. She insists that even if it's the hard way, staying connected to nature matters, and then she promises she'll tell His Majesty. Flaffer remembers how, in that dungeon, she could grow delicious veggies just by planting leaves, and now she's freaking out, wondering if the plants change depending on the soil. Still, she can't wait to dive right into the dirt and get her hands dirty. Then the rain starts blasting down in sheets, like the sky just snapped. He's calling it a long shot, but she's still going to throw her shot anyway. Praying the Riverside Kingdom, and the sun finally learned to get along. Out of nowhere, a voice barks for Lady Fear of Fear, wake up. Aqua is blurting it out in panic, look outside now. The rain finally quit, and the world fell silent for a breath. Aqua tells them the wild truth, stopping the rain in the Riverside Kingdom is so rare it's basically unheard of. Flaffer can't stop wondering if her holy really is gone. He decided it had to be nothing, just a coincidence. Meanwhile, someone wonders if Lady Flaffer prays too, and Aqua shoots back that His Majesty prays all the time. Flaffer blurts out in shock because His Majesty's own force is doing this, and Aqua jumps in to say it turns out some old benefactor of his used to pull the same moves. And she's heard it's a wish meant to level up the entire kingdom. Aqua blurts out, they told me this so you won't forget that person, and Flaffer just freezes, staring in total shock. As she finally lays eyes on that massive farm stretching out ahead, Aqua blurts out, whoa, just how huge is this place? Flaffer grins, says the weather's finally turned perfect, and pushes the idea like, let's do this. Then he drops right there and face plants into the dirt instantly, and drops to his knees and starts turning the earth with his hands, while Aqua stares in disbelief, thinking about how insanely bold Flaffer is. Now Flaffer plunges the leaves straight into the farm's soil. Aqua fidgets and blurts out that she's planting leaves, but Flater waves it off like it's no big deal and says it's fine. Aqua flashes a smile and tells her to just have fun, because even if those plants never sprout, they'll still rot into nutrients for the soil, no waste at all. Then she points out, Flaffer's been surviving this way for this long, so why stop now? Finally, Flaffer clasps her hands and prays at the farm, begging for tasty, nutritious vegetables to sprout and thrive there. Aqua blurts out asking if Flaffer. She finally lets herself enjoy it, and Flaffer shoots back with an enthusiastic, eager response. She told everyone she'd found some seriously great soil, then she grabbed Aqua's hand and thanked him for helping her. Aqua lights up and tells her that's great to hear, then snaps, let's head back to the palace for another bath so I can get you cleaned up after you got that muddy. Flaffer shoots back an apology for getting so dirty in the first place. Later that evening, the throne room roared with tense silence. Aqua rushes up to King Forest and spills every detail about what went down at the farm. King Force orders Aqua to let Flaffer go to the farm anytime she wants. And when the rain miraculously stops the exact moment she makes the wish, everyone can't help but call her a seriously mysterious girl. The king calmly says he doesn't mind letting her use the. She slips behind the royal palace and lets the farm run the way she wants for a while. Then she calls out that they're short-handed. They just had too many long downpours lately, so it all piled up and went on anyway. But then Aqua pounces on the real reason, asking if he wants Lady Flaffer kept right by his side, closer than ever. She leans in and asks, "So, are you finally falling for me?" King Force instantly snaps, "No way," shutting the whole thing down fast. Aqua keeps nudging it, demanding to know if it's not just him falling head over heels in love. And when she says that the king of a whole nation giving special treatment to one woman has to mean something, it hits like a punch. King Force looks completely stunned by the accusation and Aqua presses on. She knows he's kind, but right now their whole country is drowning in a brutal food shortage. She warns that if the people find out he's favoring a foreigner's voice, everything will explode. Discontent will surge. King Force claims he finally gets what she's saying. Then King finally admits the truth. At first, he only meant to give treatment and meals. On the way back to the country, he spots Flaffer's sleeping face, and in that instant, everything in him shifts. Aqua claims he's basically swapping out Flaffer with a lookalike of the beloved person he's hunted this whole time, and she calls it cheating, but King Forest won't let it slide, insisting that's. Aqua snaps, "That's not love," and King Forest stumbles over the next words, then blurts that they look way too much alike. He quickly insists it's not some scheme, he's not trying to give Lady Flaffer special treatment. No, he says he just wants to repay the debt he owes for being raised here to every single one of his people. He admits he never started out in this land, yet somehow he got crowned its king. His face crumples with emotion as he blurts that, yeah. He couldn't shake the feeling it was fate the moment he saw her. Aqua snaps back, "That exact spark is what makes it love." King Force shuts it down again, flat out denying it. King Force reflex. He saved Flaffer because every bone in his body screamed that she was the one person he couldn't lose. And in the present, Aqua slams the brakes on it for now. She just, "Thanks, King Forest." She watches how the people's faith in him runs deep, and she tells him that if he's feeling that same way, they'll understand. King Forest swallows his pride, apologizes, and promises he'll cover the. But as Aqua stares at the whole mess, one thing about Flaffer's condition doesn't sit right with her. Aqua blurts to King Force that Lady Flaffer might have been abused, and King Force shoots upright in shock, yelling back, "What did you just say?" Aqua tells everyone that this morning in the Grand Bath, she spotted bruises on Flaffer's body and demanded to know where they came from. Then she adds that this time they're way too bad, and she can't shake the feeling that Flaffer's been getting hurt like this every single day. Aqua keeps going, insisting those injuries weren't a one-time accident. They were hammered into place again and again over time. King Forest stayed completely silent as she pointed out just how wrecked Flaffer looked the moment they found her. Aqua blurts that Flaffer won't even try to ask for help. Either she's lost all faith in people or she's scared she'll just be a burden. Then out of nowhere, a frantic runner storms in yelling that the king needs to be found. The person blurts out that it's a disaster and demands they come right now, and Aqua snaps, "Wait, what happened?" They dash behind the palace to the farm, and it's totally different now. Where Flaffer planted those leaves, the soil exploded with thriving vegetables and bountiful crops. King Forest and Aqua just freeze, speechless, staring in awe at the miraculous garden in front of them. Aqua stares at it, stunned by how unreal it all feels. Then King Force shouts her name and Aqua answers, "Most likely." Lady Flaffer is a saint. One look at the image shows Flaffer standing side by side with her glowing saint's clothes lit up, sealing the revelation about her real nature. Later on, Flaffer bounds up to King Force with a huge grin, cheerfully yelling, "Good morning, Your Majesty." But here's the crazy part, she's stuffing her face and chatting with her mouth full like it's no big deal, and King Force tells. He begs her to swallow first, then speak. He admits he's thrilled she's bounced back so strong, and Flaffer shoots back, "Yeah, it's all because of me." Then King Forest leans in and tells Flaffer, "I need a favor from you today." He's ready to buy the vegetables she's been growing, so when he makes the offer, Flaffer practically freezes in total shock. King Forest says the non-stop rain over the Riverside Kingdom keeps the crops from growing, so for years they've had to import vegetables until now, snagging goods at insane, heart-stopping prices from the neighboring Harvest Kingdom. But listen, Flaffer pulled off the impossible, growing jaw-dropping, top-tier vegetables in just one single day. Philly's garden is the living proof of her talent. Flaffer tells everyone she only grew vegetables as a survival hobby, and Phillies can't help but ask, "Do you think I can really keep doing what I love?" because if she can, that would be the dream King Forest. King Forest cups Flaffer's hands and whispers that if she stays at the royal palace forever, her farming will be an unstoppable help. But just when you think it's over, Flaffer shoots back. She was about to ask him the exact same thing. King Forest leans in and demands, "Are you serious?" Asks if she'll take gold coins for the payment, and Flaffer grins. "Just 1 gold coin is enough for the vegetables I grew." She's stunned when she realizes just how much she's putting on the table. Then Flaffer clears it up. 1 coin covers every vegetable she'll grow from here on out. King Force snaps that it's way too cheap no matter how she spins it, and Flaffer fires back that she can't take any money, because farming is just her hobby. She even admits the gold coin is gorgeous, so she decides to accept just one and use it to decorate her room. King Forest keeps shouting the same word, decorate, like he's daring the world to obey. Totally baffled, he blurts out, "Is it really okay to give her only half the veggies today?" Then he can't stop thinking, what's she gonna do with the rest? Flaffer admits she was tempted to rip the leaves off and shove them into the soil, just so they'd sprout again. King Force keeps listening as she explains it. "Yeah, the leafy parts are great, but planting the core is the real key that makes them. And somehow, everything grows back beautifully." Flaffer swears the veggies they get feel just as good, too, because washing them fresh and eating them right away is flat-out irresistible. The two of them lock eyes, and in that split second they both silently understand. King Forest can't help but admire just how fiercely Flaffer loves her vegetables. Then Flaffer blurts out an apology for rambling, and King Forest just stares back like, "Wait, why are you apologizing?" Then King Force spots a faint red flush creeping across Flaffer's face, but Flaffer swears up and down it's all in his head. King Force tells Flaffer, "Because of you, we can finally start rolling out domestic food bit by bit, step by step. We might actually save this country." He honestly thanks her for everything, like he means it from the bottom of his heart. But Flaffer barges in and tells King Forest, "I saved your life," and then on top of that, he lets her farm the way she loves to. And the moment the words hit, her face lights up because she says she's never ever been happier. She clasps his hand as she talks, and Flaffer keeps going, saying that even if it's only tiny steps from here on out, she's hoping she can repay him someday. Her face lit up with real gratitude and fierce determination. Then Fluffer blurted, grinning like crazy, and shoved an earthworm in the air, yelling that they'd finally found Mr. Earthworm. The castle tower looms in the background as she's hit with pure wonder. Then Aqua snaps immediately, freaking out and demanding how Lady Furufer can even touch those earthworms, while Flaffer stays totally calm and explains that they're harmless, just tiny helpers that churn the soil. Then later, someone spots a ladybug and Flaffer panics as she nervously promises she'll be careful, but Aqua cuts in hard and orders her to stop that for good, starting right now. Meanwhile, Flaffer drops to his knees in the garden, begging the vegetables to grow up healthy and strong. She catches herself in a wild thought she's meant to use her power, but there's zero fatigue hitting her. Then, right in the middle of her prison flashback, she suddenly remembers how even the smallest prayer used to suck the strength out of her body, and she can't help but wonder, did her holy power really vanish? Right now, Aqua senses something's off and pushes, "Hey, what's wrong?" Flaffer finally admits she actually has. He's got a goal locked in, but right now, everything's going horribly sideways. Flaffer can't stop thinking about the perfect surprise for His Majesty and Aqua until Aqua cuts in and says, "You surprise us every single day," and then points out, like yesterday. A massive basket of gorgeous vegetables sits on display. Lady Flaffer's plants, planted this morning, are somehow already bursting and ready to be harvested by nightfall. Flaffer freezes in total shock, blurting, "Did you grow that fast?" and can't help but stare, because the Riverside Kingdom feels like it's hiding something. Meanwhile, inside, Aqua's grilling Flaffer again about those gold coins, demanding how many times she'd heard that they're not for decoration. Yet Flaffer just giggles and insists they're pretty, plain, and simple. Then Aqua shoots a question, weren't they supposed to start reading and writing lessons today? Flaffer beams and blurts that she's totally, seriously ready to learn how to read books. Hawkeye shouts for Lady Flaffer and drops the news that a special guest instructor is here today, and Lady Flaffer freezes in pure confusion. King Forest bursts into the room and declares that today he's going to teach her how to. He flips the page and pushes the words into her hands, making it crystal clear. he's counting on her. Flaffer's jaw drops, he can't believe it, and he blurts out, "Your Majesty, why isn't it?" Later, down the hallway, things are about to get real. Flaffer tells Aqua she busted her butt yesterday, then begs her, please just try the veggies. Aqua takes a bite and freezes in shock. Then it clicks. These are the vegetables Lord Furither himself grew. She's stunned, swearing she's never tasted veggies this sweet and packed with flavor, and somehow, that crushing exhaustion just starts melting away. Meanwhile, Kane Forrest sat in the library and admitted he felt the same way, then he swore it with full confidence. Those vegetables Lord Fear of Fear grew have got to restore people. King Forrest theorizes that Flaffer is either completely unaware of her own power, or maybe she'd been treated so badly that her healing couldn't keep pace. Aqua thinks it through and, yeah, she can totally see why. He told King Forrest that Lady Furorifer was begging to learn how to read and write. King Forrest asks what Flaffer's got planned for tomorrow, then vows he'll talk to Lady Fear of Fear about it himself. Flaffer shrugs it off, says it's all good, and asks if His Majesty isn't just too swamped. King Force shoots back that he's got it, and with a thunderous declaration he swears that once he starts, it's finished, so he's roaring through every scrap of tomorrow's work right now. Later, King Force drops the bombshell that he's already made a head start on it, and Flaffer realizes with a jolt that this whole scheme was brewing in his plans all along. King Force says, "At this rate, we'll be done any minute," then grins and adds that he feels amazing today thanks to all those veggies. Flaffer figures she's got no choice but to step in right now, while King Forrest powers through mountains of paperwork and someone calls him a total lifesaver. Meanwhile, Flaffer skips through the halls humming like she's on top of the world. Then King Force tells her they've got to start right now, and she nods, ready to go. At the table, the two crowd shoulder to shoulder, and Flaffer suddenly realizes they're way too close for comfort. Her heart starts racing like it's about to burst out of her chest. But she stops mid-thought, snaps back to reality, and tells herself, "Not now, don't get swept up." Since he's actually taking the time to teach her, she forces her focus to land and takes it seriously. King Forged shoves a paper into her hands and demands she reads it. He breaks it down like, "This is an alphabet chart," and then tells you straight up, he used the exact same thing to learn how to read and write back when he was just starting out. Then King Forrest starts grilling her with letters, firing out different characters one by one, and Flaffer nails every single one. And she looks like she's already clicked with it. Flapper says she's pretty sure she's memorized the basics. Noting that His Majesty's teaching is crystal clear, King Force tells her she doesn't have to rush, she only just read through it once. King Force suggests, how about we do a quick quiz? He quizzes her with a bunch of letters, and she nails every single one with flawless answers. King Forrest is blown away as he tells her she got every single question right, and Flaffer erupts in excited thanks, while King Forrest just can't believe his eyes, and Flaffer keeps praising him non-stop, telling him she's read it only once and still it's incredible, because he's going out of his way to teach her. And then she adds that besides that King Force drops another bombshell. He says it has to be memorized in one single shot. Then Flaffer immediately asks if there's any punishment if she doesn't. She keeps pressing him, "Tell me it's true, right? If I don't memorize every word of the royal script perfectly, they'll punish me." King Forrest looks at her like he can't believe it, snaps, "Repeat that," then turns to Flaffer and grills, "Is that how you've been treated over and over?" And finally demands, "Have you been getting hurt this whole time?" Suddenly, Flaffer feels a chill, something's off, and she starts worrying that maybe she said something totally weird. She blurts out, "Wait, why would anyone get punished for this? Isn't that just not normal?" Flaffer scrambles to fix the mess fast, insisting that when she says punishment, she's not talking anything scary, more like she'll dock their food a bit maybe. King Force listens to her explanation with bated breath, then snaps, "Who on earth did these horrible things to me?" Flaffer freezes for a second, she's dying to tell him the truth, but she can't shake the fear that if things between their countries spiral because of her, it'll unleash nothing but chaos and fallout. But King Force tells her, "If you don't want to say it, you don't have to," and then shrugs it off, because it doesn't matter if she can't nail everything on the first try or if she stumbles and makes mistakes. Flaffer's eyes go wide when he finally understands the answer. King Forrest tells Flaffer everyone messes up, that's just life. He even admits he screws up too, but he points out the real difference. People don't snap at him every time it happens. Flaffer soaks it all in and blurts, "Wait, is that actually true?" King Forest declares, loud and clear, that he'll never scold her just because she slipped up once. Suddenly, tears blasted down Flaffer's face as overwhelming kindness hit like a wave. King Forest pulls her in close and reassures her, admitting he knows the weight she's carried and how much she's survived. Between sobs, Flaffer chokes out the truth, "Yeah, it hurt like hell." Then it hits her, she's finally breaking free from the suffering that's been crushing her. A chilling image of her trapped behind prison bars flashes in her mind as King Force's words echo, reminding her she doesn't have to fear that dungeon anymore. Flaffer looks back and realizes this same person was the one who ended up saving her later on. Someone blurts out, "Since today's a special occasion, go all out, dress up as much as you possibly can." Flaffer stares at herself in those fancy clothes and blurts, "Does this look weird?" Then panic creeps in as she worries she can't pull off something this fancy, but the person beside her steps in fast and tells her, "No, it fits you perfectly." Flaffer stands in the palace corridor, draped in a gorgeous, elegant gown. She's surrounded by flowers as they bloom around her like a spotlight, and then she declares she's about to head out. Someone yells after her, calling her Lord Furifer, and she's left stunned. What could this secret chat from His Majesty possibly be about? As she strides toward. The moment she steps into the throne room, King Force leans in and tells Flaffer he didn't want anything big, he just had to find a way to thank her. And today he's looking more royal than ever. Flaffer quickly asks what he's really offering and why a reward. And King Forest leans in and tells her once they handed out the farm veggies he trusted her with it because anyone who ate them snapped back with full strength the very moment they tasted them. Turns out the veggies she grew weren't ordinary at all. They had some wild, special power buried inside. Flaffer admits she was just having a blast digging in the dirt and playing with the veggies, until. Still, King Forest strides into the throne room and declares he wants to formally praise her for it. Right there, no excuses. The king forced her to her knees, then thanked her for saving his people, swearing he'd give everything he had for his ruler. At the kingdom's command, Flaffer swallows her nerves and promises she'll do her absolute best. And King Force says he's pumped to see what she does next, right after the cash reward. He slips her one more gift, a royal medal polished to a shine, with her name carved into it in shining script. That medal is her ID ticket, flash it, and she gets into all kinds of facilities for free. King Forest also says the state-run hot springs are free for everyone. Flaffer's eyes light up as he realizes this place has a totally different kind of charm than the grand royal palace baths. Aqua spots it instantly. This route is taking them straight to the hot springs, and Flaffer can barely contain herself as she eagerly blurts, "I can't wait." Outside, Aqua snaps at Flaffer to stop yelling and frolicking around like she's always diving into the palace bath, and Flaffer promises she'll be careful, then practically begs Aqua to join them in the tub. Someone pipes up, saying they'll board the carriage, but right then Flaffer spots the horse yanking it. She bursts in with excitement and greets the animal warmly, then scoots right up close to pet it. But then someone steps in and warns her, "Stay back, because getting too close spells trouble." The horse nudges her with its nose and she bursts into laughter, squealing that it tickles. Meanwhile, Aqua just stares with this painfully awkward look and Flaffer blurts, "Why are you making that face?" But Aqua snaps, scolding her for being reckless enough to risk everything. She admits she never thought Flaffer would have that animals love him energy, and Flaffer tells her the horse looked like it was begging to be petted before it even worked, so Aqua presses her, "You can really tell that?" And Flaffer starts to say it's just a. Later in the carriage, Flaffer hums to herself, smiling like she's got a secret song only she can hear. Flaffer stands outside the public bathhouse staring at the thin crowd and frowns because way fewer people showed up than she expected. She'd heard all the common folks bathe here. Aqua shoots back, "What do you mean by that?" So yeah, maybe everyone's not really that into the bad guys after all. Flaffer figured the place would be packed with people, and the place would have been buzzing like crazy. Aqua even admits it's been ages since she showed up too, but somehow there were barely any people around. She assumes it's just money. Flaffer won't accept that for a second. The explanation. As they huddle up and hash out what's happening, they remember how the Riverside Kingdom used to be a place where rain never stopped, all year long. And with the torrential rains still hammering down this year, the citizens are grinding non-stop. So even if they wanted a break, they just can't leave it at that. Soaking in a bath is the one thing they refuse to skip. Flaffer takes it all in, then starts plotting how they can make everything feel a whole lot easier. Aqua blurts out that right now they're finally handing out the veggies Flaffer grew, but the royal farm can't possibly feed every civilian, and Flaffer just believes the solution is simple. If they've got enough food, everyone will be covered. Aqua leans in and asks if Lady Furafura is gearing up, planning to jump in again, only this time for free. Flaffer muses that maybe, starting tomorrow, she'll pitch in at farms beyond the royal palace too. Aqua goes all fired up, praising Flaffer for being so wonderfully non-greedy, then straight up tells her she still needs to take some compensation. Because if she won't, it messes everyone up on the other end too, and Aqua warns of disasters like that time they tried paying out of pure goodwill and Flaffer refused, or the chaos that erupts when people start complaining about shady, inconsistent pricing. Aqua tells her she'll handle Flaffer's pay, and Flaffer nods and says, "Perfect, leave it to you." The story swings to the Kingdom of Harvest. Rain crashes down on the palace like the sky's furious. Someone turns to Mary and demands, when will the sun finally show up again? Mary snaps that she prays her heart out every single day, then blames the other saints for botching their jobs. Someone shoots back, "Yeah, exactly." Noticing the palace vegetables droop and wilt under all this relentless rain. And that turns into a real headache. Down in what looks like a dungeon or basement, King Jarfel grinds through piles of soil, muttering that even after the palace has finally been cleaned up, King Jarfel finally manages to get rid of that dungeon's soil soaked in that vile woman's power, and the relief hits him hard. He even admits he's on the same page about all of it. Ever since that happened, he can't keep down those vegetables, and now his energy has been draining ever since. Mary moans that without those life-boosting vegetables she's in awful shape, and King Jarfel shoots back, "You're right." Then Mary asks why the sunshine would be focused only over the royal palace, and Jarfel explains she can light up her holy power inside the palace for a while, without the citizens ever catching on. Murray blurts out that it could be illegal, but King Jarfel waves it off like it's nothing at all. He insists that anyone sitting in the top offices has to stay fired up, and if Mary and he being in great moods can lift the whole nation, then who in their right mind would dare complain? Mary catches on to his point and nods, "Yeah, he's right," and then she tells him he's brilliant like always, calling him uncle to make it extra sweet. In the Harvest Kingdom Palace, wilted vegetables droop in the spotlight, clearly begging for someone to finally step in and fix things. Meanwhile, Flaffer and Aqua set off to tour the Riverside Kingdom's farms, kicking things off with the one right next to the palace. They pull up at a nearby farm, and right there, an older woman with curly hair greets them. Hair welcomes them with a warm smile, and the farmer beams with joy. How could she not when those adorable kids show up? Flaffer steps in, introducing herself as Fear of Fear, then drops the wild detail that she grows vegetables right at the royal palace. The farmer says her name is Marasha, and Aqua steps in right after, presenting herself formally as the maid assigned to Lady Furafur. Eurasia clocks Flaffer instantly, the kid behind those wild remarks he grew out of thin air. Remarkable vegetables for the royal palace, grown in pure glory for the king's table. She studies Flapper with a seriously impressive focus, like she's locked in and ready to master it. He lets the words spill out, then looks at her and declares she's got a rare power, something so wild Marasha has never seen anything like it before. Flaffer shot her a look with wide, sparkling eyes. Then Flaffer asks Marasha to check one of the fields, and the whole group practically leaps at the chance. Marasha tells Flaffer to stop freaking out and just play it cool. Says she'll go ahead and do it right then. But right away, he stumbles, smashes face first into the muddy field. Flaffer drops to her knees in the battered field, shuts her eyes, and prays as a soft glow curls around her, begging the soil to turn into a home where bugs can thrive in peace. And everyone will cheer because those tasty, life-giving vegetables are going to thrive right here on the farm. Right after she wraps up, Marasha calls from nearby, praising her hard work and pulling her in. "Come on over, sit down." The whole crew drops into a tea circle, and Flaffer wastes no time asking what Marasha meant by power. Marasha just smiles and says she's satisfied because she's witnessed power way bigger than anything she ever dared imagine. She tells Flaffer straight to his face that she's sitting on massive saint-level power, then adds that Flaffer really ought to shape up and be more. She caught on to what was going on, right where Aqua said she would. Flaffer's eyes go wide, then she blurts, "Wait, how do you know I'm a saint, Marasha?" Marasha flashes a warm smile, her heart racing as she wonders if this is exactly what she's been thinking. She admits her own powers are already gone, ancient history now. Then Flaffer jerks in shock. Marasha, the one and only, is the saint herself. Suddenly, Aqua grabs Flaffer's attention and blurts out an apology. She's sorry for everything she's done up to now. Aqua blurts out that she and King Forest both clocked it. Flaffer is a saint. And then she admits she panicked, because it looked like Flaffer was keeping her real identity secret and Aqua didn't know how she was supposed to tell everyone the truth. She reveals she went straight to Lady Marasha, the former saint, asking for help, and Marasha told her, "If you get a chance to meet Flaffer face to face, I'll be able to pass on what I know from one predecessor to the next." Flaffer admits she used to think she was a saint, but now she's terrified she's nothing but a fraud, and she insists she never even felt like she was using any power at all. But Marasha tells Flaffer she has no clue what's really going on, insisting she's a real, magnificent saint, then urging Flaffer to look straight behind her. Flaffer whips around, and the field she just blessed is totally unrecognizable, bursting with plants sprouting everywhere. She can't believe her eyes. She's pushed through that brutal work and her body feels totally unscathed, like she didn't break a sweat. Marasha says the fact he can wield that kind of power without even getting tired proves his flare strength is on another level. Because being blessed by more than just good weather but by nature itself is basically something nobody ever sees. She adds, "If I'd used this much power back when I was in my prime, I'd crumple from exhaustion on the spot. No way I could keep going." But then Flaffer. This kind of effort is probably the same as taking a stroll in the park. Flaffer fires back, "Why do I suddenly have all this power? Back in the Harvest Kingdom I didn't feel this strong at all." Marasha tells Flaffer, "If you eat right and keep living healthy, your body and your holy powers will bounce right back to their absolute peak." But then Flaffer's stomach drops, because if word spreads that she's still a saint, everyone will start pressuring her too. She'll be stuck working around the clock, and she won't be able to run wild in the mud anymore. Aqua gets it instantly. Flaffer's power is so wild it feels like reality itself can't handle it. Aqua shoots her a concerned look and asks what's wrong, because Flaffer's face is filled with pure trouble. Flaffer insists she just wants to keep rolling around in the mud, even if everyone already knows she's a saint. Marasha blurts out, "Why don't you just do it right now?" Aqua tells Flaffer, "If you use that power for the Riverside Kingdom, I swear it'll turn into peace. A peaceful, thriving nation where life felt safe and the future looked bright." But that's the thing, Flaffer doesn't have to quit what she loves just to please anyone. She's free to live life light and easy, however carefree she wants. Aqua tells Flaffer, "If anyone shows up and pushes you to unleash your power to the max, or tries to bully you into something evil, don't worry, neither my majesty nor I will stay quiet." If the saintess is a national treasure, treating her carelessly would be pure insanity. Marasha breaks into a warm, knowing smile as the whole moment clicks into place. That evening, right at the Riverside Kingdom Palace, King Forest, Flaffer, and Aquashir sat down for dinner together under the moonlit sky. During the meal, Aqua suddenly turns to Flaffer and throws out a heartfelt apology for staying silent after she realized she was. Flaffer snapped, asking why she didn't just go straight to the source and ask herself. King Forest admits he figured if he pressed Flaffer, she'd put her. She kept her guard locked up, and she couldn't even breathe easy. King Force leans in and tells Flaffer they've finally confirmed her power is the real deal, and he's itching to jack up her reward. Flaffer stares at the gold coins, and disappointment curls across her face. King Force says, "Of course there are gold coins," then flashes a grin, "but this time I want to grant her one special wish." Flaffer's eyes snap up at the word wish, and he blurts, "Do you mean like a prize, something like that?" She admits that simply getting to play on the farm already feels like a reward all on its own. Then Flaffer leans in and asks King Force for just one day of his time. King Force freezes in shock, then blurts out if it's really for her. Flaffer flashes a grin and thinks, "I just cracked it, now both me and King Forest can enjoy this reward together." Meanwhile, Aqua can't stop gushing about how amazing everything is while Flaffer secretly erupts with joy, because he just scored a reward. Flaffer bursts with excitement and agrees on the spot, thanking King Force for the chance, and just like that she's fully back, body healed, clothes swapped out, and looking perfectly healthy in proper attire. Later, King Forest strides through the palace hallway, marveling at how innocent and adorable she is, so pure it feels almost dangerous. Pure innocence right on the edge of her age. While everyone else came at him chasing ambition and honor, Flaffer's bold request to the king was way simpler. He just wanted to play in the mud. He can't stop wondering what she's thinking, and the truth hits him. He needs to know everything about her. Next day at this giant bathhouse, King starts second-guessing the whole plan, grilling Flaffer like, "Are you sure this is where we should be?" Then he reminds her straight up that she did hear him say he'd tag along wherever she goes. Flaffer tells everyone she begged Aqua to lock down the entire place just for them today. King Forest looks resigned to this whole setup, and then Flaffer practically yanks him along, urging him to hurry and jump in the bath, so he blurts, shocked, "Wait, you mean me too?" In the bathhouse, Flaffer suddenly snaps to attention and blurts out, "Wait, is this the women's bath?" King Forest freezes in total shock. She's dead serious about getting in the bath with him. Then Flaffer kicks things off with a cheerful undressing routine, grinning that they've got the whole place to themselves today, while King Forest just sits there completely gobsmacked. And he snaps, demanding to know if she's trying to seduce him, because why in the world is she handing over her clothes without a shred of shame? He hurled himself into panic, flying until, orders him to hold up. But King Forest snaps back, saying that's not how you show gratitude, and Flaffer shoots him a grin. This is just a small token of her appreciation. Ever since he helped, she's been soaking up every single day, when suddenly Aqua barges in, screaming at Flaffer and demanding to know what on earth she thinks she's doing. Hakua asks if Flaffer isn't embarrassed to be seen looking that bad, and Flaffer just shrugs it off with a casual reply. Those tight bonds aren't romance, they're just there to keep the cold out. Aqua grabs King Force and shouts at him to step back right now while he's still. He snaps a warning to Flaffer. She's one step away from slipping clean off her balance. Amid the chaos, King Forest and Flaffer get their faces jammed together in the most brutally awkward moment imaginable. After that, King Force stalks through the palace hallway by himself, wrapped in total silence. Later on, Flaffer rushes up and apologizes to King Forest, begging him to forgive what happened. He leans in and tells her, "Remember this one thing because it could change everything." Even if she's safe around Aqua, Flaffer insists she should never flash any guy with her underwear or her real personality, because that's just how the world works, she says, and you can practically hear her nervous gulp. King Force thinks she still doesn't get it. Yet after that whole lecture, Flaffer turns to him and insists she wants him to join her in a bath today. Inside the bathhouse, Flaffer lets Aqua scrub her hair, and the feeling hits so perfectly it leaves her utterly in bliss. She suddenly gets this weird, foggy sense that someone, long ago, used to wash her hair just like this. Aqua shoots something wrong, and Flaffer grins, insisting, "Yeah, this definitely feels amazing." Aqua shoves her in, but Flaffer shrugs it off like it's nothing. Meanwhile, King Forest steams in a different corner of the bath, his mind racing as he wonders when he last truly let go and relaxed like this. King Force leans in and tells Flaffer, "I'm so happy about what you did," like it's the biggest win ever. And Flaffer joyfully points out just how relaxed he looks now. King Force thinks it might be because she keeps thanking him for everything she's done. Flaffer acts all modest, like she's not about to admit it out loud. Then King Force demanded they tell him, should they bail out soon or not, and can't help thinking, maybe they could squeeze in a little more time. His words hit like a punch to the face. Flaffer blushes so hard it's almost impossible to look away. Still soaking in the bathhouse, Aqua suddenly hollers for Flatterer. The camera swings back and suddenly you see it, Flaffer and King Force just chilling together in the bath, totally relaxed, like nothing in the world can touch them. But even the happiest bath time can't last forever. It eventually slips away. Later that night, King Force creeps into Flaffer's room and watches over her as she falls asleep. He spots that old bruise on her body, and the color drains from his face. The guy can't stop thinking about just how much pain she must have gone. I can only imagine how much she suffered through. That bruise isn't fresh at all. It screams that this pain has been stacking up for a long, ugly time. Someone can't help but think, wow, Lady Flaffer is one tough, strong girl. Right now, Flaffer tosses and turns in her sleep, screaming little bursts of pain as she thrashes through the night. King Force finally realizes he's in way too deep, stops trying to muscle through it by himself, and decides he has no choice. Aqua has to step in and help. Meanwhile, the story jumps to the Kingdom of Harvest at night, where Duke Bonnell sits in his residence and tells his niece, Mary, he needs a favor from her, so Mary leans in and demands, "What is it?" Duke Bommel, King Jarbel's younger brother, tells Mir he needs her to head to the nearby kingdom of Riverside for a while because right now they've got no saintess, and Mir's jaw drops as she blurts, "Why do I have to go somewhere like that?" The Duke grabs her attention, reminds her she's packed with holy power, then orders her to hit the dirt and show it off in the filthy, broken kingdom of Riverside. But Mary fires back, insisting that even if that country wanted her, she'd still refuse to live in a strange land. Then she challenges the whole idea, asking what good showing off is supposed to do. She pitches the idea of sending another saintess to the kingdom of Riverside, and the Duke shuts it down fast. Because what they really need is rain to save their drought-struck land, not her showing up in person. The Duke's wife keeps smashing the plan to pieces. She grabs Mary and swears they won't just leave other nations owing them, they'll also wipe out the extra saints. So when Mary becomes the lone saint backing the Kingdom of Harvest, the ducal house scores a huge victory. Murray blurts out, "Is the country gonna be okay while I'm gone?" And the woman snaps back that the weight is way too much for the other saints to carry by themselves. Then she adds that her brother swears the vegetables he grew have some kind of fatigue recovery magic, so everything should work out. And Murray, right there, realizes the plan. Her brother said he'd feed those veggies to the saints. Mary can't stop thinking about her uncle's vegetables because every time she eats what he grows as a hobby, she feels powered up. But this harvest, just ordinary veggies, no magic like before, and there he stands in the garden soaking up the pride like he's proving a point. Mary can't shake the thought that no way those girls would be able to pull off the scene test by themselves. A razor-close shot catches a gloved hand hovering over a dagger, tense and ready to strike. Myra's eyes narrow into a calculating glare as it clicks. Maybe this is her shot too. While the carriage convoy rattles along the mountain roads, someone leans in and addresses Lady Mary, telling her, "We're almost there. Riverside Kingdom is right around the corner." Myra leans out from the carriage window and realizes, way more than she expected, the trip has gone much farther. The story whips to a grand palace as Mary nods, makes it crystal clear she's got it, and declares she's heading straight for the Riverside Kingdom. Someone tells Mary they have high expectations for her, orders her to prove a saint's worth, and then, at least for now, Mary decides to follow her father's plan and heads straight for the Riverside Kingdom. Inside a gorgeous, ornate room, they leaned in and addressed everyone. He calls her Lady Saint while they get her ready. Mary tells herself, if the weather flips wild while I'm gone, they'll finally see how crucial the saint is, and that means it all starts with her too. She tells herself she's meant for this land, imagining the people bowing to her as the kingdom's most precious saint. Then Neri starts thinking, why not show off my power in the Riverside Kingdom too and score a power for myself? She fires off a passionate welcome for her too, then she suddenly stops like something caught her off guard. Realizing fear of fear has to be in the Riverside Kingdom too, she starts putting it together. If everyone already thinks the saints of the Harvest Kingdom are useless like her, then she's not alone. It might be a real problem. Then in another scene, someone swears the driver says he dumped Fura into the wasteland during the disposal, so she's probably gone for good, and the others just react with quiet shock while the first one admits dying like a stray on the roadside feels almost heartbreaking. Right when they hit the Riverside Kingdom, someone drops a rumor. The weather's supposed to be brutal because the kingdom's missing a saint, so why is it blazing sunny right now? They all stare in disbelief and decide the smartest move is to ask around at the capital checkpoint. Inside the carriage, Myra perks up and says the weather's too perfect. She wants to hit the farms right now, and she even remembers how, last time, those long rains turned the fields into straight-up lakes. Her companion lights up and says it sounds awesome and they'll totally go check it out, while Miri, quietly fuming with purpose, wonders just how truly broke the country she's about to save really is. At the capital, the guards started grinning about the endless sunshine lately, and one of them leaned in like it was a miracle. This is the first time in his whole life he's ever gotten to work in weather this fresh and cheerful. Inside the carriage, Miri nods in tight, controlled relief like she's trying not to show it. Then someone whispers that she has nothing to fear because the sunshine and miracles are just coming in strong right now. A guard barks for everyone to mind their footing. Then Mirror's companion leans in and tells her, "Stay a bit, this weather is going to turn suspicious fast," and Mirror nods along. they decide to tour the farm, fully expecting to find soggy soil where the vegetables can barely cling on. But when Miria steps onto the farm, her jaw drops. Rows of healthy vegetables are thriving everywhere, and she can't believe this can possibly be real. She stares at those insanely healthy veggies and can't wrap her head around it. How could anything thrive in a place that's nothing but non-stop rain? So she scrambles for an explanation, betting they've got premium fertilizer here because no other farm ever looks this good. She slams the past shut and charges ahead to the next farm. On a different farm, Mary spots even more vibrant vegetables and she goes totally stunned. She stares at the dry, cracked earth and realizes she can't possibly show her powers here. Out of nowhere, someone yells for Lady Mary and she wastes no time. She turns toward the commotion and goes to get answers. A farmer leans in and tells Mary there's no saintess here anymore, and when Mary asks who took her place, he snaps back, "Not a saintess. This country borrowed the power of the vegetable grower from the royal palace." Mer digests it and realizes the Riverside Kingdom is wide open. No stintess at all, so she asks. He leans in and demands, "So who is this person exactly?" The farmer remembers her, this cute girl, laughing and looking so happy as he sees her. Tilling the soil filled him with joy, and now he can't stop wondering, where is that girl right now? The farmer thrusts a tomato into Myra's hands and swears fate led her right here. Myra doesn't even hesitate as she bites in, eager for every juicy second. Right away, she's hit with a shock. The taste knocks the breath out of her. The taste hits her like a juicy, sweet explosion, so good it wipes out every last bit of exhaustion from her journey, like a spell of pure happiness was cast the moment she bites into that tomato. The farmer leans in and asks if it's good, and Mary fires back that these are even tastier than. She stared at the flavor like it was magic. No vegetable she's ever tasted even comes close, and she can't wrap her head around someone who grows this delicious stuff being real. She's convinced this creator has to be dragged straight to the Harvest Kingdom. Then he barks orders and her whole group hits every farm in the capital, starting right now. Myra's companion lights up and calls it a fantastic find, and Myra says her father and uncle are going to be thrilled when they hear this. Then someone wonders what snapped her out of the blue, but Myra just orders the carriage to halt the moment they spot a girl near any farm. Reluctantly, he finally caves and agrees. Right after that, his companion spots a girl across the way. Mira cranes his neck, spots Fraffer, and realizes who he's looking at. She's stuck on one question: were those veggies from earlier just happening, or were those frappers up to something too? And yeah, she doesn't buy it. Notices Fraffer looks totally different from her days in the Harvest Kingdom, and the mirror starts freaking out, like it's scared she just slipped through the wasteland, and the big question is what it means that she's now. Now we're in the Riverside Kingdom, where trouble's about to come rushing in. While the moment hangs in the air, someone shouts to Lady Furifer that her meal is almost here. Flaffer's outside stretching and purring like life is perfect, right after what feels like the best nap ever, and Myra watches from a distance thinking, what a crazy day she's living if she can enjoy a nap this hard. Then Flaffer grins and blurts, "That was so much fun." Later, Aqua tears into Flaffer, calling her out for getting mud even in her mouth, then orders her to rinse it out with water, only for Flaffer to spot something strange somewhere else. Meanwhile, one of Harvest Kingdom's noble saintesses tilts her head and snaps that Flaffer, useless as ever, still lives with a grin on her face. Another saintess fires back that Flaffer's even weaker than she is, yet somehow she's the only one actually enjoying it. The first one steams, grumbling that they're the ones slogging through exhausting saint duties just to keep everything running. The saintesses brushed off Flaffer's trouble like it was nothing, saying she was probably just snatched up by some merchant and made to work anyway, then watched her move around with surprising energy. Because somehow she still had today off, free to play, one saintess even grumbled that this country has basically no entertainment to offer. From inside the carriage, someone blares that they're ditching this stop and rolling straight to the next farm. Mary can't stop lamenting that they never found the rumored girl who's supposedly a master at growing vegetables. And with the sky perfectly clear, she's convinced some powerhouse saintess is out there that the public hasn't even caught wind of, yet she's still stuck, crushed that she can't finally flex her own power. Even as Mary talks, her escort clocks the truth. She's somehow in a great mood, and Mary spills why they managed to score tons of vegetables at the market, grabbing all kinds of fresh produce. Someone asks if they should go back to the Harvest Kingdom right then, and Mary lights up. She's convinced they've uncovered priceless intel and that her father's going to love it. The carriage jolts into motion and rides out. Back at the Riverside Kingdom Palace, one of King Force's officials rushes in and tells him the spy they sent to the Harvest Kingdom is finally back. The officials swear Lady Furifer got treatment nobody could dream up, and King Force just smirks. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. King Force expressions jaw clenched the moment he heard it. Harv's Kingdom's weather stayed alive only because Lady Furifer held it together. And then they threw her away like she was trash, casting her into the wasteland. Then the female advisor leans in and reminds King Forest. He wasn't just spared, he was exiled from the Harvest Kingdom the very same way. King Forest admits that he lived because this country helped him, but Lady Furifer had to endure it all alone for a long, painful stretch. The advisor leans in and tells him, it was your intuition and your judgment that saved Lady Furifer. Without that she was seconds away from dying. King Force can't stop thinking about it, how wild it is. Even when he was thrown out of the Harvest Kingdom, he trusted his gut, hunted down food and water on the road, and somehow reached this place all by himself, and to him, that's a straight-up miracle. The advisor raves about King Force's sharp instincts, then slams the truth. Because the other day in the Grand Bathhouse, it looked like his intuition wasn't landing at all, so she wonders if it was meant to be that way, and the advisor shuts it down with a hard, confident certainty. It was. She confesses she feared he'd snap, wipe the Harvest Kingdom out on the spot, and then King Forest steps in, promising he'd never go that far, while the advisor exhales, finally relieved to hear his classic, cool retort. Then the advisor's face hardens. She warns that once word spreads about Flaffer's power, enemies will rush to snatch her away, so she pushes for round-the-clock surveillance and even insists they station guards watching Lady Furifer too. Then the female advisor leans in and tells King Forest, save Lady Furifer and this all ends. She laughs at him, calling him the spineless king who couldn't even lift a finger when she wasn't feeling good. Then King Forest snaps back, protesting that she can't keep teasing him like that. Meanwhile, Flaffer is out in the garden while palace staff keep eyes on her from every angle. And inside the hallway the advisor talks to King Forest, saying it's just a joke, but then immediately deciding to crank up the surveillance and beef up the guards on Flaffer. Later on, someone corners Lady Furifer and asks if she has a moment. While they're eating with King Forest and his advisor, she drops a bombshell. She's heard it's been raining non-stop in the Kingdom of Harvest lately. Flaffer snaps, so what? Why should we care? The advisor answers, dead serious, that kingdom's supposed to be guarded by 3 saints. Then he shoots a question, has Flaffer been praying for good weather in the Kingdom of Harvest this whole time? And Flaffer nods, confirming it. Then the advisor leans in and asks if Flaffer got paid handsomely for it too, because everyone knew her holy power was the very thing that saved the Kingdom of Harvest. Flaffer leans in and demands, why are you even asking for something like that? King Forest admits there are nasty rumors flying about the Harvest Kingdom, and if they're even half true, he plans to sever ties for good. That's why he went to Lady Furifer first, the woman who once called that place home. Flaffer demands a vow no matter what hits them, he won't charge into that place like a maniac. King Force scoffs and says he'd never do something stupid like picking a fight himself, but if they get invaded, he'll defend the country with everything he's got. The advisor nods and says she gets it. King Force vows that whatever he hears, he'll never execute a single soul from the Harvest Kingdom, and the advisor presses her promise. If anything goes wrong, she'll shut it down. Flaffer tells him that if that's the deal, then her reward is simple. 1 meal every single day, no exceptions. Stacked with bread and whatever leftovers were left behind. And when she occasionally snagged those battered hand-me-downs, both King Forest and the advisor instantly froze in shock. Then Flaffer barrels on and explains, that's why she couldn't believe it. These rewards in this country were unreal. And the moment she got those gorgeous ornaments, they gleamed like gold coins, filling her with pure happy awe. Someone tells her, wait, where exactly did Lady Fear of Fear live? And Flaffer blurts out that after the royal palace dragged her in, they shoved her straight into the dungeon. Suddenly, the palace explodes in startled screams. Flaffer says King Jalbar ordered her to rot in the dungeon, forcing her to keep pouring out her holy power. No escape, no choice but obedience. They promised they'd save the country with saints of noble blood, not some orphan like her, and then they just disposed of her. But right as she was riding in a carriage, nausea hit hard, then they ditched her on some lonely stretch of road in the middle of nowhere. When she finally woke up, someone had saved her and she was already in this country. King Force swears this is beyond his wildest imagination, and the advisor just nods like, yeah, no way, I expected it to go this far. King Force slams it down as totally unforgivable. No matter what, they're saving nobody. Then he rips the diplomatic ties with the Kingdom of Harvest apart on the spot. The advisor bluntly warns that no matter what they do, that country won't survive much longer without help. And King Force steps in to reassure Lady. If he's really not out to plot revenge assassinations, then he'll stick to his promise, no tricks, no exceptions. Meanwhile, someone breaks the news. The Harvest Kingdom's been soaked in non-stop rain ever since, just like the Riverside Kingdom back then, yet the Riverside people survived because they fought back every day, racking their brains and slamming together countermeasures. But the Harvest Kingdom isn't built for that, and if this rain keeps pounding, the nation's survival is on the line. King Forced figures the place has to be totally flipped since Lady Fura isn't around anymore. Like the original environment is brutal enough that the Saintess there can't survive on power alone. Then someone fires back that the country actually has 3 Saintesses. Then King Forest tells Flaffer, you'll understand one day just how vital your power really is. The moment it clicks, he fears they'll try to snatch her, and that's when Flaffer finally realizes why the guards are all over her. King blurted out an apology for dragging Flaffer into a painful past, but she only smiled and told him the truth. She's actually thrilled that he cares enough to hurt for her. King Force makes it crystal clear, of course he cares about her. Then he confesses that when he feared these days of eating together and chatting like this would vanish forever, his heart felt like it was about to explode. And he admits he snapped and raised his voice without meaning to, then he apologizes. Flapper calls him Your Majesty, visibly shaken that he isn't talking about her holy power at all, he's talking about the real days they spend together. Then King Forest turns to Lady and demands her attention. Lady Fear of Fear, one more thing, does he really want to know if she grew up in an orphanage? Flaffer confirms it, yes. Even back when she was just a kid. She snaps the truth, the king snatched her straight out of the orphanage At first, the treatment was way better than the orphanage, but it all spiraled fast, until one day she was thrown into the royal palace dungeon. Flaffer said she'd heard the kids from the orphanage were wiped out one by one, and somehow she was counted among the lucky survivors. Then Flaffer keeps going, saying this one kid from the orphanage adored her more than anything, so smart and quick it was basically King Flaffer all over again. She's terrified, like if he vanished, maybe he's still out there breathing somewhere. Suddenly, Flaffer snaps to attention in pure shock, he's alive. She knew it all along, like somewhere out there in this country the truth was waiting. But King Force tells her, I'm right here in this country, and Flaffer blurts out, so if I can I actually meet him? Flaffer's emotions hit full blast at the thought, while King Force, finally realizing he missed it, shoots him an apology, then points out, Big Brother is right here, and reveals himself. Flaffer's eyes snapped wide, pure shock flooding his face at the revelation. Then she'd fly for reflex, just like she learned back in her orphanage days. She admits there are tiny scraps she can still remember. Back then she was so small that most of it blurs into nothing, but she does. She does remember her big brother, the one she loved more than anything. A memory hits young Flaffer like a punch tucked behind the orphanage flowers, choking up over those far-off days. Then the flashback slams in, little Flaffer is sprawled in the mud and the boy rushes to her, calling out like she's his little sister. So this is where you were? And young Flaffer's eyes light up as she tells him, Big Brother. The boy glares at her with gentle annoyance like, seriously, you love mud that much? And Flaffer beams back, saying that every time she plays in the mud, it supercharges her energy. Flaffer keeps going, spilling details about the orphanage. Every kid there gets labeled with a number, no names at all, and then one figure shows up who doesn't fit the rules. An older boy scooped her into his arms, called her his little sister, and spoiled her with non-stop love. He wasn't her real brother at all, yet she still started calling him Big Brother too. The memory hits like a flash, there they are, strolling through the orphanage courtyard as the boy helps young Flaffer scrub every last streak of mud off in a wooden tub outside, warning her she better clean it all properly or the scolding will come again, while Flaffer grins and says the bubbles feel so good. Then she grins and promises she'll make him bubbly too. Only the boy protests that he's totally fine, but Flaffer's already darting in and splashing bubbles all over him. Flaffer tells me life at the orphanage was brutal, but the moments she shared with him were pure joy until that bright memory crumbles and a darker scene takes over. Late at night in the dorm, a young boy bolts awake on the floor, visibly shaken, and when he spots young Flaffer standing right there, he blurts out, "What's wrong?" Young Flaffer sobs and covers her face, then tells him, through shaky tears, about the terrifying dream she had. The boy yanks her closer, telling her, "You had to be terrified," and Flatter breaks down in tears, admitting she'd been stuck in a pitch-black place while some monster screamed at her. He scoops her close, then reassures her, "I'm right here with you, you're safe." In a flashback, young Flaffer is tucked in bed, staring at the ceiling and whispering, "Tomorrow too," praying that with her big brother they'll finally have a ton of fun together. The young boy flashes a grin and tells her he likes that one, and young Flaffer lights up like, "Great, then I'll copy you too." They link hands tight as the boy whispers that he wants to stay with his little sister forever. The memory slips away, and suddenly you're staring at two kids clutching hands in that pure, innocent moment. Meanwhile, at Riverside Palace in the present, Aqua stands frozen as King Forest grips Flaffer and Flaffer blurts out, "Wait, are you really my big brother?" King Forest nods and confirms, "Yeah, it's him." Then King Forest leans in and tells Flaffer, "Back then nobody used real names, we only traded special titles." Flaffer nods, "Yeah, you're right." King Forest presses on, "And you know what? She was the only one who ever called me her brother." Flaffer's feelings crash over her the second she realizes she wasn't wrong. King Forest yanks her into a tight embrace and whispers that he's been dying to see her for ages. Aqua stares at them and blurts out that she's genuinely thrilled they managed to. King Force points out that even after all this time of meeting, Lady Flaffer was the one person His Majesty was desperately hunting. Aqua says she's stepping out for a bit and tells everyone to do whatever they want, but King Force lunges in, trying to block her and warns her not to turn it into an awkward mess. Later, King Forest cornered Flaffer and demanded to know how she survived. She said that, according to what she'd heard, everyone had been tossed out and left to rot beyond the royal capital. King Forest told them it all started with gut instinct. Somehow they stumbled onto food and water like it was a miracle. And even as the days dragged on for dozens, they refused to quit until they finally reached the Riverside Kingdom. He tells Flaffer that every kid from the orphanage is now living in the Riverside Kingdom, and when Flaffer hears it, he exhales in quiet relief. The panel throws you a jaw-dropping shot of the kingdom thriving far below, like the whole world is humming with life. The story cuts to the Kingdom of Harvest, where relentless rain batters the capital without mercy. People are freaking out in every street, screaming about how long it'll last and what the saints are even doing about it, because at this pace they're convinced the whole country is about to crumble. Inside the palace, King Jarful slams into Bomber and demands, "Why the hell did you let Mary go on that trip?" Bomber shrugs and says there are other saints around, so he figured she'd be okay for a bit, then adds that Mary should be back any moment now. Duke Bomber just stood there, plotting the whole master plan, send the other saintesses to neighboring countries after they witness Murrah's power, so Murrah becomes the Harvest Kingdom's only saint and his reputation skyrockets, because he fully expected the remaining saints to crumble into the empty space left behind. Back in the palace, King Jarfil seethed about the non-stop rain, because Miri wasn't there. Then Bomber tried to shield himself, saying Miri's using her powers not only in their country but across the Riverside Kingdom too. Jarfil cut him off instantly and said the blame was going to land on him anyway since he's the king. Then King Jarfil grabs Bomber's attention and orders him to read the chaos right in front of them. Because the Harvest Kingdom needs the sun shining again, no excuses, and if Bomber keeps charging off on his own, the king's already got something bigger cooking. A guard barges in with a report, and King Jarfil whips around to demand what's going on, then magical sparkles suddenly burst into the air. Bomber blurts, "What's going on?" And King Jarfil just shuts him down cold, saying something urgent just landed and they'll talk later, then ignores his protests and orders him to mind his business because Bomber doesn't need to know. Bomber snaps at the king, "Don't forget I'm the prime minister," but King Jarfil he just turns and walks off, then tells him again, this has nothing to do with him. Bomber stands his ground and pure rage is boiling in him. Bomber seethed at his brother for storming off without a word, and now he's left asking who the real selfish one is. Because if the king humiliates him again, Bomber won't hold back and will rip him off that throne. At a checkpoint just outside the capital, Miri gets blocked by guards and fury explodes as she snarls that she's a duke's daughter. And the saint, so there's no way she should be stopped like this. The guard can only apologize because the king's direct orders leave him zero choice. Mary bemoans that, for the first time in ages, she's been pounding the whole royal capital with prayers, when suddenly King Jarfel pops up in a carriage window and demands a word with her. Mary whips around in shock and blurts that he's her uncle. King Jarfel claims Bomber told him that she slipped over to the Riverside Kingdom. Mary blurts out, nervous but certain, yeah, that's right. She admits she's been feeling lousy lately, so she decided to switch things up and try something new for a change. King Jarfel orders her to unleash her holy power and stop the rain right now, or it's going to get ugly for her. Since she wasn't there to act, the rain keeps pounding down and his reputation with the citizens craters. Mary shoots back that she's already praying and the storm should ease up any moment. For ditching the country without permission, King Jarpel slams Mary's pay raise into the ground. Mary fights back, screaming that it's way. She pushes it too far and then she drops the ace. She's sitting on every kind of info about the Riverside Kingdom. King Jarfel weighs her words and tells her straight up if it's worth it, he'll hand it over. Might be able to land her a bigger raise down the road. The skies suddenly break open, clearing fast. King Jarfel spots it and realizes the good weather isn't just luck anymore. This land isn't stuck in endless rain. Mary leans in and tells him she's sure the Riverside Kingdom is hiding a powerful saint. And King Jarpel instantly fires back, so what else do you know? Then Mary blurts out, glowing with excitement, that the vegetables there were ridiculously delicious, so good it didn't even feel real. But King Jarpel slams the door on Mir's claim, insisting it's impossible. Yet Mir won't back down, pointing out that all this time the Riverside Kingdom has been shelling out massive sums to import food from the Harvest Kingdom. She insists Riverside never felt the pinch at all, she just doesn't know every detail. Crops were booming and the fields were thriving, so King Jarfel turns his back, his thoughts locked on Mary. She insists she thought he'd celebrate with them, but King Jarfel cuts her off. Those vague tales don't help him at all. Mary stands her ground, insisting it's not all on her shoulders, and she even warns the other saintesses she'll be gone for a while outside the palace window, the rain keeps hammering down. Mary suddenly blurts out, points straight up, and tells King Jarfel to look. Thanks to her power, the rain is finally backing off, while King Jarfel stares at the clearing sky and nods, saying it's exactly what he'd expect from her. King Jarfel points out that with agriculture booming there, she must have snatched up a mountain of vegetables. Then Mary laughs and admits she ate almost all of them on the drive, leaving only a handful as souvenirs for her father and the others. Then King Jarfel strides beside wagons packed with produce and declares he's seizing every last one. Mary flinches in shock and blurts, "Why would you do something like that?" King Jarfel just sits there among the vegetables like it's nothing and replies, "Of course I did." Then he demands to know who she thinks is to blame for his reputation taking a nosedive. Mary goes completely speechless. Meanwhile, in the hushed rooms of the Riverside Palace, King Force stares into the past, gripping the weight of it. Because ever since his sister was ripped from the orphanage, he's been hunting for her with no rest. Ever since the Riverside Kingdom took him in, he's been clawing his way up the ranks, desperate for the highest position he can reach. Because he knows the more power he grabs, the easier it'll be to get information about her. Flaffer can't believe his ears as King Forest keeps talking, and when the tale ends, the former king fully trusts him, then crowns Flaffer as his successor. But even after Forest became king, he still couldn't pry a single clue about Flaffer from anyone. On his last bet, he stormed straight into the Harvest Kingdom to find her himself, because maybe some merchant already bought her, or maybe she wasn't alive anymore. King Force leans in and tells Flaffer, "I found you out there on the road." Flaffer freezes, stunned by the truth. He's been chasing her this whole time without even realizing it. King Forest keeps pouring out his confession, because the moment Flaffer crumpled, his gut screamed that he had to rush in and save her. At first, he just wanted to help, but the more time he spent with her, the more he got helplessly hooked, like his heart was getting yanked in her direction. And somehow, yeah, she really was his sister. Turns out his gut instinct back then wasn't wrong after all. Then someone shouts Lady Four's name, and King Forest turns to Flaffer and demands she get engaged to him. Flaffer's eyes bulge with shock, then, right behind him, Aqua pops in through the doorway and bursts out with loud congratulations. Flaffer just stood there frozen in shock, trying to make sense of the words engaged. King Force declares loud and clear that there's no one on Earth he'd marry, only Lady 4. Aqua blurts out that he finally admitted it, and Flara's face lights up with pure, overwhelmed joy. But suddenly he froze the moment they took off. She tries to make sense of it all because His Majesty, Forest, and the big brother standing right there are the same guy, and they're casually talking about getting engaged and married. Flaffer's brain completely fries and she's done. She can't keep up a single step longer. She drops hard onto the couch, and Hakua and King Force instantly skid to her side, shouting her name and panicking like crazy. Meanwhile, Mary breaks down and cries for her father, and Duke Baumel sprints over, demanding to know what's wrong. With tears streaming down her face, Mary blurts that her uncle did something unforgivable. So Duke Baumel snaps into action, demanding to know if his brother hurt her. But then Mary finally drops the bomb. Her uncle stole it from her. Duke Baumel tries to talk himself out of it. Surely his brother wouldn't go that far. Then reality hits. His brother snatched their trip's souvenirs, grabbed every last souvenir vegetable. Mary just keeps sobbing, screaming that her uncle did something unforgivable. And the word vegetables keeps echoing in Duke Baumel's head like a taunt he can't shake. Mary tells him her uncle called it punishment for slipping off without permission. Then he snatched every single veggie she'd bought, including the ones meant as a gift for her father. Duke Baumel clocked the whole situation, and that's why Mary was falling apart, sniffing hard, swearing she was crushed just because she'd lost the souvenir she meant to give him. Duke Baumel clocks the whole situation, eyes hardening as he thinks of that brother. Then he vows to show zero mercy for what was done to such a kind-hearted man. Mary asks Duke Baumala if he's really going to make Uncle go gaffin for her, and he vows he'll get him back for sure. She just needs to hang on a little longer. Asks Mira how the Riverside Kingdom is doing, and Mira jumps in to explain right away. Duke Bamo stared into the void, and the truth hit him. There's no way a saint like that exists in a country like this. Mary stared at her own situation and felt the bite of it. She couldn't flex her power in the Riverside Kingdom. So she had to ask herself, is the Harvest Kingdom really the only stage where she can steal the spotlight? Now Mary clenched her thoughts and hunted for her next move. Duke Bamo roars his vow, no matter the cost, he'll rip his brother off the throne and seize the crown for himself. Later, Flaffer sits there, totally calm, as someone asks if she's really okay now, then she admits that somehow she is. Then the king takes the stage and Fluffer goes pale, asking with shaking nerves if it's truly okay for someone like him with the throne over his head to marry a girl like her. The king force leans in and declares she's this country's savior, that nobody would dare oppose her becoming his queen. Flaffer's eyes bulge with total, jaw-dropping shock. She hesitates, then admits she doesn't really remember saving the country at all. But then someone blurts out, wait, she's been planting vegetables every single day, and she's basically keeping the whole nation alive. Not just the royal palace. Flaffer leans in and drops this. Farming, aka playing in the mud, is her own little hobby. The talk keeps rolling on a palace balcony, staring down at the city below, and then someone drops it like a bomb. Whether it's just a hobby or not, Flaffer is actually fixing the food shortage. And it all comes down to Lady 4 because her doing is what finally stopped the endless rain. King Forest is telling her, you might not see it yet, but you're the one holding this country together. Flaffer pauses to think because she's been messing around in nature, praying she could make His Majesty grin, so yeah, she's genuinely thrilled about it. Then the dark-haired woman cuts in, and based on Flaffer's big wins, she's straight up saying she sees nothing wrong with him dating His Majesty. She insists that soon, right at the perfect moment, they'll proudly declare Flaffer a saint and make everyone see exactly how much she's done for this country. The dark-haired woman says that for her, Flaffer's feelings for each other hit harder than any opinion the world throws at them. And the moment she admits that, Flaffer's eyes sting with tears because it's only her heart that's driving it. She'd be trapped beside His Majesty forever, no way out. King Forest practically loses it when she says those words, and then the two of them burst into a joyful embrace. While the Flappers were blown away, pure joy flooding them like a tidal wave. She realizes that it's always been Milady. But for the first time, her big brother finally calls her by her real name, no honorifics, just her. Means the whole world to her. King Forest leans in and tells Flaffer, from now on, stop calling me your majesty, just say my name. Flaffer goes completely still, eyes wide, and stammers, "B, but it's so sudden." King Force jerks his gaze away. The second he goes for it, Flaffer immediately drops his smile, straight up disappointed. She blurts out, "It kills me to see you wearing that crushing, disappointed look." Flaffer fights through her tears, calling his name with shaking emotion until she finally manages to spit out, "Lord Forest." Tears flood her face as she stares at him, but King Forest only smiles softly back. Flaffer reassures him that for now, calling him Lord Forest is more than fine. He swears he'll give it everything so someday she won't need a title at all. She'll finally feel safe enough to call him by name. The very next morning, Flaffer wakes up on her own in her bed, like the world has already moved on without her. She lies there staring at the ceiling, replaying everything with Lord Forest. And then she swears to herself it wasn't a dream. And then the brutal truth slams into her, straight to the bone. She rolls around in bed like she's finally hit the jackpot. Aqua bursts into the room and greets Flaffer, then freezes when she spots her already awake this morning. Flaffer simply says, "Yep, I am." Aqua asks how she's supposed to spend her time, because today has no visits lined up for the domestic farms. While the hot water blasted over her, Flaffer sank into the shower thinking about how thrilled she was after their chat yesterday. Stunned by the gut punch revelation, she was the brother force he'd always loved. All this time he's been hunting for her non-stop, and the whole way his heart clenched like it was going to burst with raw emotion. Flaffer is dying to say thank you to him, again and again, because he keeps rescuing her, and now she wants to make sure Lord Forest hears every single ounce of that gratitude. She also wants to apologize for the chaos she caused back then, like how she fell asleep at the bathhouse the other day. She asks Aqua how she can properly thank him, and Aqua can't help but think to himself that Flapper is being ridiculously cute. Then she drops a plan. Haka suggests whipping up homemade sweets for His Majesty during tea time, and Flaffer practically freezes at the thought of making them herself. Aqua shrugs off the usual plan and says, "Why leave it to the palace chefs? Want to try making them yourself today?" Flaffer panics because she's never cooked a day in her life and asks if she can really pull it off, but Aqua pushes back hard. Handmade food with heart is guaranteed to turn out amazing. He brought pure joy to His Majesty. She didn't hold back, she pledged her full support, no strings attached. I'm flying right back with a hopeful message asking, "Is that really true?" Then go take an Aqua flight and get ready to bake cookies together. Both of them slipped into cooking outfits and the kitchen was fully decked out, tools ready, ingredients lined up. Aqua pitched the idea of making beginner-friendly cookies. Flaffer chimed in that she'd had those. They stare down the cooking supplies, grabbing bowls and measuring tools like they're gearing up for something huge. Flaffer wonders if they should start measuring, but Aqua snaps, "Forget it, just dump the ingredients in." Aqua and Flaffer team up to bake cookies. Aqua scribbles every move from the recipe book, while Flaffer slams the dough into a bowl and fights the mixing with everything he's got, sweat pouring as he tries to nail the perfect consistency. She admits it's tough as hell, but Aqua pushes her to try her best on her own pace. While they keep working, Aqua snaps at Flaffer to shake the cookies into heart shapes, then think hard about who they're for. Flaffer grins and says she'll try while picturing Lord Forest. Then bam, she feels her chest tighten up again. She starts to worry she might be sick, but refuses to let the royal palace's chief physician touch her. Then Aqua swoops in and tells her it's not an illness at all, so she'll be fine. After the cookies are finally done, they crowd up to the window to see how it all turned out. Aqua beams, telling Flaffer she nailed it, but Flaffer just grins back and says it was Aqua's lessons that made the magic happen. Aqua blurts out, "Everything's done, now we just bake the cookies," then warns, "But one wrong move and you'll get burned, so leave it to the royal chefs." Later, Flaffer barges into King Force's office and finds him hard at work at his desk. She shouts his way and he waves her in. Then King Force clocks the time and groans that it's already tea time, while Flaffer grins and says she brought a special treat just for today. He leans in and asks what it is. Then King Forest stares at the heart-shaped cookies and the Flaffer brought on the platter and demands, "What are these?" He realizes the chef was the one who grilled them, then he blurts the question, "Did you flaw?" Flaffer made them just for him, she even confirmed it, and then King Forest asked, "Can I eat them?" While Flaffer blurted, "I'd love to." King Force takes one bite of the cookie and blurts, "This is delicious." The two of them huddle together over tea, and King Force can't help but smile like a lucky man, just picturing the day he'll finally be able to sink his teeth into cookies this delicious. Meanwhile, Aqua hangs back, tells King Forest there's nothing wrong with Lady Flaffer and begs him to keep enjoying those cookies. Then out of nowhere, Flaffer lets out a sharp pain cry and King Forest snaps, asking what's happening. King Forest snaps that Flaffer looks totally run down and offers to feed her, and Flaffer argues that she really doesn't need to go that far while a basket of cookies is already right there. Force presses, "So you're gonna eat?" Flaffer gives in, confirms she'll take them and then makes sure he's dead serious about it. Force answers, of course. She hesitates, then he grabs her attention and orders her, "Just open your mouth." He fed her a cookie in that strangely intimate moment, while sparkles swirled around them and the whole world felt locked in. King Force leans in and tells Flaffer this is his payback, then orders her to say, "Ah," while Flaffer's thoughts scream that the whole thing is brutally, painfully embarrassing. They huddle side by side, forced to stay together as the power keeps pounding into her. Then Flaffer yells his name, thanking him with tears in her eyes, and relives every moment they've shared so far. King Force grabs Flaffer's attention and promises her forever, begging her to stay by his side for eternity, while Flaffer stands there stunned, completely wrecked by how moved she is. The scene drops all three of them together, and even Aqua shows up right beside them. The panel snaps shut on a jaw-dropping wide shot. There it is, the palace looming against the sky. Back in the Harvest Kingdom, the royal palace gardens started growing vegetables that were downright awful, and the rain wouldn't stop, pounding down day after day. Inside the palace, everyone's trading rumors when someone suddenly drops the bombshell. They witnessed fallout in the Riverside Kingdom. And everyone else is thrown for a loop. Then another person blurts that they truly believed Frawl was dead, left to rot out in the wasteland gutter. Meanwhile, someone sprawled out, napping like they don't have a care in the world, while an enraged woman steamrolls her frustration, fuming that they're forcing her to suffer through all of this. A man stalks through the palace grounds, staring at those withered vegetables like they're a clue, his gut screaming that something is very wrong. Right out of nowhere, the man chomps a vegetable like it's a dramatic reveal, and the taste hits him instantly like he's been there before. You can practically taste the surge of life. Those veggies are exactly what they grew back at the royal palace. A dark-haired figure finally snaps when the truth hits. Every vegetable and every twist of the weather so far was all Frawl's power, and rage floods his voice as he curses. Right at the gates of Harvest Kingdom Castle, a voice snaps that they're headed straight for the Riverside Kingdom. Meanwhile, down that corridor, people were gearing up to leave until one guy finally asked, "Will we really be okay with so few of us?" Then another stepped in fast and shot back, "Don't worry, it'll be fine." Then a dark-haired man with a mustache leans in and demands they move in secret. Because if this expedition ever leaks, the citizens will realize they're hunting to bring back the frail woman they were supposed to exile. Someone pointed over there and asked, "Hey, who's riding in that carriage?" The cap-wearing guy waves them off and says, "Don't worry, those are my intelligence agents, silent, shadow-working pros." The other guy nods, but then the cap-wearing man grins and drops the truth. "Nah, they're just underworld thugs I hired to take them all away." Three intimidating men stand shoulder to shoulder, pure hired muscle, and the guy on the right slams the point that this country is in emergency mode, because that's when the nation's leader has to step up. The cap-wearing man answers that His Majesty Jarble is the pride of their country, and another voice nods and tells them to go on out. Then someone mutters that she got played so easily. The carriage finally rolls out through the pouring rain as the whole plan clicks into place. Once they snag Frawl back, they'll shove her into that carriage, slam the locks, and dump her straight into the palace dungeon, where she'll be forced to keep manifesting her holy power until the day she dies. In the carriage, the passenger leans in and tells the driver he's got just one question, then asks if the driver has ever felt any kind of charm from Frawl, like she's got a hold on him as a woman. The driver breaks into a laugh and insists he's got to be joking, swearing he's never seen a woman that hideous in his life. Then the passenger cackles right along, saying for him too she's completely off limits, calling her nothing but skin and bones with a creepy vibe to match. The driver lights up and blurts that even the one time he accidentally brushed her, it meant absolutely nothing, no spark at all. And as they roll on, those two men just keep on trading cruel jokes like it's a sport. At last, the carriage finally rolls up to its destination, and the streets erupt as crowds surge in from every direction. The two men stared at what they were seeing, One snapped that it felt like an entirely different country than before, and the other muttered that it looked just like the Harvest Kingdom from only moments ago. They stare at a display packed with fresh, vibrant veggies, and then one of them snaps awake, dead certain Frail is here right now. At the marketplace, the leader snapped at his men that every move was landing right on schedule, and he told them he was counting on them. The three men snap to attention with pure resolve. One of them tells him, "Leave it to us," while he vows with fire in his eyes that he'll definitely get Kaffir for back. Meanwhile, Flaffer stretches her hands toward the blazing sky with pure joy, lets out a happy little sigh and smiles like, "Man, what a gorgeous day this is," before she cuts herself off. It feels absolutely incredible. Flaffer is thriving and healing in the Riverside Kingdom, blissfully unaware of the danger closing in on her. Then later she lies in the grass, staring up at the sky, amazed at how different her body feels now compared to the Harvest Kingdom, because back then she just shrugged off the sluggish, weak feeling as normal. After a brutal day on the farm, Flaffer strolls back with Marasha and Aqua, and then she bursts out, laughing, saying today was insanely fun and she feels completely recharged. Marasha flashes a soft, gentle smile and praises her for a great job. Then Aqua flashes a confident grin and says she'll go line up a carriage, and the other person immediately nods in agreement. King Forest and Flaffer huddle side by side, staring out at the breathtaking view. Then a voice snaps from behind, calling out for Lady Flaffer. Flaffer's face snaps from calm to full-on surprise. Three thugs surge ahead with weapons bared and someone screams, "Who's there?" The attackers barrel straight at Flaffer, and she gasps in pure shock as the men surge in. Everyone around them scrambles, guards spring into action, and bystanders scatter when the assault hits. Meanwhile, Marasha screams for Master Flaffer in pure panic and someone demands, "Are you okay?" A guard answers all shaky while Flaffer slumps on the ground, cradled protectively in Aqua's arms. Marasha and the guards closed in from every side, trapping them in the middle. Those attackers were utterly bewildered, staring in shock at the sudden wonders that just blew past them. Later on at Marasha's farm stand, a Harvest Kingdom man barges in and demands to know why she refuses to sell, especially when he's offering to pay. Muresha blurts out an apology, then shuts it down. "We can't allow bulks." She points at the veggies and declares, "These crops are for everyone who walks these rows, so you don't get to buy them all out." Then the guy on the right blurts out, asking if she isn't from this country, and the man says they're from the Harvest Kingdom, while Marasha stares and says she can see it. Then she drops the new law on them, straight up telling them that the moment you leave the country, customs will slap duties on any vegetables you got here, and the man's face goes white as he blurts, "Since when did they start that?" Marasha snaps back that if they've got a complaint, they should take it straight to the royal palace. But then she shoots down his hopes by admitting she knows nothing about it, and the poor man just freezes there, seething, unable to pull off his mission. Back at Marasha's farm, the subordinate hurries up near the carriage and blurts out, "What's the plan?" The leader grumbles that they're supposed to link up with the agents and then storm to the palace to negotiate. A Harvest Kingdom soldier stands there with arms crossed, jaw tight, pure frustration spilling off him. He demands to know what they meant and whether the target was there, but the moment the group heads off from the farm, someone blurts out that the whole plan crashed and burned. The subordinate blurts that they finally found it, but the security net is so huge it blows past anything they ever imagined. Then the leader snaps awake, realizing they're already caught in the government's palm, and he grits out that they've got to rewrite the whole plan, his fist clenching with raw frustration. Then the leader slams down a special assignment for every single one of them. They'll jack up the reward even more if they pull it off. Back at the Riverside Palace, frantic voices screamed for Lady Flaffer, "Right now, don't waste a second." In the morning, someone shouts to wake Flaffer up and she answers, still half asleep like she's caught between dreams and reality. Flaffer flings himself in the bed and stretches hard, telling Aqua, "I'm just so happy I woke up feeling great today." Aqua sticks her head in from the doorway and demands, "What happened?" Flaffer blurts out, "Something definitely did. This is way more shocking than anyone expected." Aqua barges in and tells Flaffer that His Majesty the King of Harvest is arriving this early, and Flaffer's face instantly goes pale with shock. Aqua lunges and yanks Flaffer back, shouting that she can't take one single step out of this room. Flaffer snaps, "What do you mean this is an emergency? We have to stop Lord Forest right now." Aqua warns that if Lord Force snaps and they end up in one massive brawl, it's going to be a total disaster. She can't shake the feeling this visit is all about Lady Flaffer, and she worries that if King Jarvel moves in with force, he'll kidnap her. You can't predict what's next. She's dead sure King Jarvel, His Majesty, will pull out every trick in the book to seize exactly what he wants. Hakua tells Flaffer, "That's exactly why you've got to stay right where you are." Fluffer shoots a worried glance downward, but Aqua snaps back and realizes, staying here might be even more dangerous, and urgently blurts out to Lady Flaffer, demanding they get to His Majesty right now. Flaffer asks if it's really okay, and Aqua fires back that with the table they should use every trick, grab her the instant she's split from His Majesty, because kidnapping gets way harder when she's glued to the king's side. Later on, Aqua leans in and tells Flaffer she only made that call because Lady Furifer helped her, and Flaffer just grins, saying, "Guess you're pretty sharp after all, huh?" Aqua blurts out her thanks, then declares Lady Furifer's safety is her #1 mission. So this time, she's flat out ignoring His Majesty's orders. Aqua snaps in and tells Flaffer, "First things first, you've gotta change clothes like right now. There's no way you're meeting a foreign king in pajamas." Flaffer nods and says she'll run and get changed immediately. The two sprint through the palace hallways, and when Flaffer whips her head around, she realizes King Forest is gone, nowhere in sight. The Harvest Kingdom crew storms into the room they swear is the right one, and one guy blurts that the targets could have scattered somewhere else. Then another snaps back, "Not a chance," determined to hunt them down before all that money slips away. While the guards comb the inside, Flaffer and Aqua finally realize, wow, that was way too close to be a coincidence. Flaffer clicks instantly. They weren't stopping her by accident, they were hunting her, trying to capture her for real. Then one of the men spots it. Gold coins are everywhere, glittering all across the ground. All eyes snap away from the kidnapping. One guy blurts, "Forget it, this is way bigger than the reward we're getting." Another nods and says, "Grab these and run." Fluffer is left completely speechless. Aqua snatched Flaffer by the arm and barked, "We've gotta go right now," while Flaffer wailed over her precious treasures as they slipped away. She was stewing over the fact that she'd gone through all that trouble to line them up so perfectly. Later, Force spots Flaffer in the hallway, snatches her into his arms and breathes, "Thank God you're safe, I was terrified." The dark-haired advisor bursts in and tells His Majesty that someone's sneaking inside Lady Flaffer's room. Then he asks if the guards have already caught the intruder yet. Forrest tells them he first ordered Aqua to keep Flaffer locked in her room, but then a weird gut feeling hit him hard, like trouble was brewing, so he immediately sent the guards sprinting to Flaffer's room. Meanwhile, Flaffer is fuming over her precious treasures, so Forrest presses her, "You mean the gold coins?" And Flaffer snaps, "Yes, I decorated them so beautifully and I went through all that trouble." But then Forrest stops and thinks it through. He clocks the intruder's real target, and he's sure it's Flaffer herself, not the gold coins sitting right there like bait. Aqua snaps up and addresses His Majesty out of nowhere. Aqua blurts out that the kidnappers are bailing on the whole plan and are scrambling to leave town after they manage to scrape together a few gold coins. Forrest just stares, totally lost, while Hakua insists the crew that tried to snatch Flaffer is just plain incompetent. Later, Force decides to keep this secret from King Harvest for now. The dark-haired advisor fires a question, "Aren't you going to tell the Harvest King you already caught the kidnappers?" But Force snaps back that going silent will give them the edge in the negotiations. Then Forrest leans in and tells Flaffer that depending on what the situation demands, she might need to join the talks. Yeah, it's sudden, but she's got to hide her identity and slip right in with the guards. Flaffer's eyes light up as she declares she'll stay buried out of sight, then giggles and compares it to hide-and-seek. Meanwhile, Aqua watches everything unfold and lets out a quiet sigh. She's honestly relieved to see Lady Flaffer staying so calm. Aqua snaps that the real threat is King Jarfel and Forrest must not let the man bait him. Forrest agrees, then tells Flaffer that with her right beside him he'll be okay, and Aqua tenderly pats her head. And then force the moment, press in close, and share something soft and tender together. Flaffer tells herself she's not really worried about King Jarfel, but her heart is pounding anyway, because the reason is something totally different. She steadies her nerves thinking, Lord Forrest is right here, and that's all she needs to believe everything will turn out okay. Force urges Flaffer to move, and together they spring into action, ready to roll out for the meeting. Meanwhile, the action blasts over to the Harvest Kingdom's grand throne room. King Jarfel lounges on his throne as guards stand shoulder to shoulder on both sides, and down the hall, a forced representative and another noble from Riverside stride toward the diplomatic meeting, while Flaffer keeps perfectly hidden among the guards, watching every move. In the massive throne room of Riverside Kingdom, King Jarfel rolls in with his crew, drops to one knee before King Forrest, and says he's honestly grateful for the warm welcome, even if he showed up out of the blue. Meanwhile, Flaffer is tucked in among the guards in disguise, and she can't shake the feeling this whole visit reeks of real urgency. Telling herself it's nothing, she watches Lord Force talk so smooth and calm, praying it won't erupt into a full-blown fight. Then the moment keeps rolling, Jarfel wastes zero time and goes straight for the kill. He tells King Force he'll speak plainly and demands permission to import food from his own country, and right away someone blurts out the big question. Why? So Jarfel says the Harvest Kingdom is getting hammered by non-stop rain and twisted weather, so bad even the Saints' powers can't push it back, and if it keeps going, they'll soon run straight into a food shortage. Forrest admits it sounds brutal, and Jarfel snaps that they've got to find a way to crush this crisis. So they bowed low and asked to borrow Riverside's nation's strength, and Forrest sits there, thinking it over like it's life or death. Then Jarfel jumps in with a deal, 1 gold coin per crate of vegetables. Rage flares in him as he snaps that their people only average about 2 gold coins a month, so anything higher is just insane. Forrest shoots back that Riverside has been snagging veggies from the Harvest Kingdom for 2 gold coins per crate, so why pay more? He's been thinking of trading them for half that price. He adds that their country is still staying far from reaching that goal yet, and time's running out. When it can't feed everyone, the city won't rest. People only stay happy if they can trade at a fair price. Jarfel's face tightens the moment he hears that, so negotiations for the vegetables are going to be a nightmare, huh? But he decides he'll steer this talk toward Flaffer from here and turn the situation his way. He questions whether the veggies in Riverside's country are really worth that price, saying it's hard to believe anything grown in a place that just rains non-stop could taste good. Then Forrest keeps it cool, reassures him, and asks if he wants to try a sample. Jarfel fires back that he's totally confident, agrees to take some, tastes the vegetables, then bursts out yelling that, and they're way more delicious than he ever expected. He pauses mid-moment just to savor the flavor. And then he spots something off, one taste, and it's exactly like the veggies he grew back home. Meanwhile, Flaffer lurks in hiding and stares at the scene, thinking, usually, compliments for my vegetables would make me glow, but right now, I feel nothing but emptiness. Something about the whole mess screams wrong to her, and right then Jerf snaps, panicked, calling it a grave problem, saying the saint they exiled from their country might be hiding somewhere in this land. He goes on to say the saint from their land, Flaffer, abused her power and twisted the weather into this living nightmare, and Forrest demands to know what in the world he's talking about. But that hooded figure keeps hammering his case against the exiled saint, and King Jarfel doubles down, screaming that this crazy abnormal weather is all Flaffer's fault. Jarfel admits it tore his heart in half, but there was no choice at all. He had to drive her out of the country. He tried to push for reflection in the dungeon, but there wasn't a single inch of space left for rehabilitation. Then the 3 noble saintesses who came with the Flappers see the scheme for what it is and snap, this is all lies. But Jarfel won't let it go. He presses again, demanding to know why Force thinks the Riverside Kingdom straightened itself out in the first place, and even an advisor in the Force courtsize admits that if this is true, then the entire story flips. Jarfel snarls that it's all his doing. He says the center of his plan was to trap the Kingdom of Harvest by snatching the rain clouds from the Riverside Kingdom and hauling them straight back to his own land. He fires back, rhetorically asking if it's even right for her to hog all the vegetables hauled in thanks to those blessings. Jarfel snaps, "Listen up!" then lays down 2 demands from his country. Starting now, half of every vegetable harvested in the Riverside Kingdom gets handed over to them for free, and the second that criminal Flaffer is spotted, they've got to rush the news to him right away. Jarfel laughs at his own ultimatum, and Force instantly steps in. "What's so hilarious?" he asks. Someone demanded, "What are you even talking about? Jarful sat on his throne and said the truth as he sees it is worlds apart from what everyone else is trying to sell. He throws his counter on the table, and when he recounts his past visit to the Harvest Kingdom, he says it dazzled far brighter than his own country ever did back then. He keeps talking, says that on his way home he stumbled onto a woman teetering on the edge of death, bruised all over, her clothes in shreds, starving and wasting away, and then Jarful fires back. So what about it? But then Forrest leans in and demands what that woman calls herself after waking up a few days later, because Jarful already has the answer and Forrest makes sure he knows it. Right then, Jarful's face twists with worry, and he demands to know who that woman even was. He clocks the implication and straight up rejects it. There's no way that's true. Jarful scrambles to shut it down, claiming it's just some made-up tale to wriggle out of his demands and insisting he knows nothing about it. Then someone from Jarful's side swears it's the whole truth, only for the other guy to slam back, asking what he'd possibly stand to gain from making up that lie. Calling out that lying to a king from another country in a meeting is straight-up unforgivable. Jarful's advisor snaps back that King Force has zero proof. Then Forrest stays cool and addresses the demand for evidence without flinching. Jarful shoots off a bunch of worried questions, demanding he's sure this is the right move. Then someone asks, "So what are you even talking about?" Meanwhile, a top advisor leans in and whispers that this could even shake Lord Jopal's grip on power. Jarful snaps back hard, demanding to know exactly what they mean. She shoves a forced order on someone to bring her over, then, right in the middle of it, someone starts asking if she was never even meant to be here. But Aqua swoops in and reassures Flaffer hide-and-seek is done, and it's time to answer every question they fire at them. Aqua vows that every single person here will stand guard over Lady Flaffer no matter what, then she screams it's time to hit back. Flaffer nods quietly, and just when they're gearing up, someone blurts that this whole thing is starting to feel a bit too terrifying. Then Flaffer strides into view beside the noble saintesses, now unveiled in dazzling white ceremonial dresses. One of the saintesses leans into Jarful and says, "It's been forever." Jarful fires off, "Who are you?" and Flaffer shoots back, "I'm Forer, the one who's been rotting in your country's dungeon." But Jarful shoots back, swearing King Forrest can't lie to him, and insisting the four who showed up in his country definitely didn't have anyone's beautiful appearance. Jarful thinks, if she's really that gorgeous, I'd snatch her as my fiancée asterisk. Then he recalls the woman he locked up, all scrawny and bony like a walking skeleton, and even if there's a tiny hint of resemblance, he's convinced this is a completely different person. Forrest breaks it down like this, she's bounced back with that much energy, and he hammers the point again. Back when he first found her, she looked nothing like she does now. Someone blurts that this is impossible, then Jarful steps forward and snaps, "I've got a question for you, you self-proclaimed fraud." He presses her to name the cook who fed her right up until the day she was exiled and the coachman who hauled her away. Flaffer shrugs and says she has no clue who they are, because they never once introduced themselves to her. Suddenly, someone blurts that the guy lurking in the back is the driver. Then another voice fires back that the old armored dude was the one running the food, and the character in front snaps in pure, visible shock. Flaffer's face contorts, twisting into something wild and terrifying, and rage surges as she remembers how that driver's reckless driving left her sick that day, so she snaps, "I'm spilling everything," because now she can say whatever she wants, and then the accusations come flooding out. The driver snapped her out of the carriage after warning, "If you throw up, I'll kill you." So she hurled herself out first, then they rode off and left her stranded. But that's not even the worst of it. The food boss was terrible too, and Flaffer practically demanded, "Didn't you stomp on my bread right in front of me, then hand me meals still covered in mud?" Flaffer can't stop wondering what else she could possibly know about King Jopal. Two guys from the Harvest Kingdom look at each other, unsure, whispering, "Is this working? Are we really doing it like this?" Then boom, Flaffer lights up because she finally feels momentum hit and she blurts out, "I get it now, I just need." And he's got to run around and announce his majesty to everyone next. She throws a dramatic pose and cheerfully blurts out that King Jopal's type is girls with a little extra in the curves. She'd rather have that than someone like Bonnie, and the poor male courtier's face instantly twists in shock as he snaps, "Why are you saying this now?" But Flaffer keeps talking, pauses for a beat, then remembers, and her smile lights up as she blurts that's exactly why she always can't wait to head back to that shop. Shockin'. The male advisor's face dominates the panel, and pure shock explodes across his features. The throne room stays tense when the guy remembers King Jopal's words. Seeing Flaffer first made him believe the brothel had even higher-tier women waiting, and that thought lit a fire under him. Suddenly, Flaffer clamps both hands over her mouth, panic flashing across her face as she fights to keep herself from saying another word. Down the stairs, King Forrest, dark-haired and sharp-eyed, stands with Flaffrey and someone leans in to explain. Jalpal said this was a major state matter, so he'd drag the cooks and the coachmen along on his little rounds too, and that's how everyone convinced themselves he was taking his duties to the country way more seriously than anyone else. In the massive throne room, confusion hits like a wave. She doesn't know what's happening, and Fluffer blurts out, asking if she said something wrong. But suddenly, a bunch of people rush in to stop her. Someone calls out to Lord Forrest as Flaffer panics and apologizes, confessing she barely knows anything about King Jopal. And then someone finally reassures her they understand, begging her to shut it before she says more. Down at the bottom of the panel, male officials and guards scramble at the shocking truth about King Jopal, while the dark-haired female advisor stares in silence, thinking, that was a terrifyingly blunt bombshell. Couriers and officials blow up the moment the bombshell drops. One person snaps that if what she just said is true, this is a massive catastrophe. Another voice warns that if it's real, the coachman won't skate away scot-free either. Then the crowd turns on the details, questioning whether she's even really 4, because her look is nothing like before, and honestly she's cute as an angel. The panel flashes a radiant Flaffer right beside those grim, uncomfortable coachmen and guards, and suddenly someone screams, "This is a setup to frame them!" But then another voice cuts in and goes straight to King Force. "So you really mean you're not here for her, huh?" Jarfal's face went pale with alarm, and Force stayed cool, telling him straight, "If you don't trust us, then we'll prove it beyond doubt, right now," so he ordered his guards to bring in the prisoners they'd captured earlier. Captured men are marched into the throne room, roped, bound, and kneeling hard as a commander steps up and demands answers from King Jarfal, saying these guys are the intelligence agency you hired. King Jarfal snaps, cutting them off, and snarls for them to shut up, just for a moment. Beneath the grand throne room, King Forrest snaps that he had the men seized because they were trying to snatch the gold coins scattered across Flaffer's room. Then he needles, "So does Jarfal's intelligence agency stoop to petty theft too?" And right after that, someone fires back, "Wait, are these guys really intelligence agents?" King Jarfal goes pale with shock at the accusation, swearing that his country's intelligence agents never got those orders from him. Then King Force smirks and says since Jarfal is already claiming they're supposed to be executed anyway, he might as well kill them right here in Riverside Kingdom. And just like that, someone chimes in like it's the most obvious plan in the world. The light-haired advisor snaps toward the bound men and asks if they've got any last words before the death row sentence. Then one captured guy spits a curse because he finally realizes the idiots just set them up. The questioning grinds on as they demand, point-blank, what their request looked like this time, and the advisor just smirks. These delinquents are so vile both nations had to team up to nail them. In the middle, the bound man blurts out that he and the crew were hired to kidnap the criminal Flaffer, and if they pulled it off, they'd get 20 gold coins and their criminal records would vanish. Then rage spikes in his voice. Those idiots scattered the coins just to pin the blame on them and brand them as thieves. By the end of the day, the police finally catch the truth: they had been kidnapped. Right at the bottom of the scene, someone finally spots the truth: those gold coins are fake, and Flaffer stiffens up as she gulps out the confession. She's the one who slipped them into the room just for decoration. Then the dark-haired advisor drops the bombshell: bad news, those coins are actually the real deal. One of the bound men finally snaps and begs them to just execute him already or do whatever they want. And right beside him, someone blurts that they're so horrified they can't even speak. While in a little side panel, someone yells at Flaffer for flashing all those gold coins after they've warned her again and again, and Flaffer fires back that they're just so pretty. Then Flaffer's eyes blow up in a tight close-up as she snaps into Lord Jarfald's face, speaking straight to him. Down at the bottom, the polite officials reel in shock, then start grilling. King Jarfald hiring a monster criminal, has that even been heard of? One voice snaps that everything so far might have been a scam spun by that swaggering warlike Flaffer, while the real saint is still standing right here. And another voice shoots back, did King Jarfal's move summon this awful weather on purpose? King Jarfal himself crumpled to the floor, choking out distressed cries as the revelations completely crushed him. King Jarvel roars Flaffer's name from across the room, then lunges forward in a flash, demanding the gold coins on the spot and snapping at her not to just stand there looking pretty. The scene snaps to a tense. A decorative pillow sits there with gold coins piled on top, and Flaffer squeaks out the happiest little sound. Then the scene zooms straight into her face as she cradles the coins, grinning like the world's best news as she says, "I'm so glad the gold coins are back." Meanwhile, in Flaffer's room, she's on all fours, snatching up scattered gold coins from the floor one by one. Aqua shoots her a worried stare and blurts out Lady Frall's name. Flaffer snaps the question, does Aqua really plan to shuffle every last gold coin around? And Aqua just grins and confirms it. That's exactly what she's going to do. But then Aqua slams the brakes, complains she's getting worn out, and refuses to keep going. Flaffer pleads for help, but Aqua shuts it down hard. No means no. She prays this little scare finally taught Flaffer that gold coins aren't just for show, yet Flaffer snaps back that the bad guys were already caught, peace had finally returned, and then out of nowhere someone screams they're coming. King Forest shows up in the doorway and tells Flaffer he needs to talk about something big. King Forest leans in and asks if Flaffer's lining them up again, and Flaffer beams, saying she totally needs them for the room's decoration. King Forest just nods like, I see. Then King Forest snaps at Aqua, asking if she's really just going to stand there and stare, and Aqua fires back that she can't approve of this. Until King Forest turns to Flaffer and promises, don't worry, I'll help you. Aqua blurts out, is His Majesty really in his right mind? And King Forest snaps, don't say that, because that gold coin is the reason Flaffer got saved. King Force claims he's seriously hoping for that, but his doubt is loud. He doesn't think anything like it will ever happen again. Meanwhile, inside the throne room, guards drag the bound criminals off, but one of them thrashes and screams at the idiots to let him go. Then an advisor snaps to King Jalpal that no matter how he tries to spin it, this can't be ignored, while a Harvest Kingdom official orders the criminals back to their country, warning that the punishment waiting for them won't miss its mark. Outside the palace walls, the guards haul the men away as King Jalpal pleads for forgiveness, heartbroken that it's come to this. But King Force orders them to drag these villains back too, or their country will lose all face, so his advisor shoots back, are you sure? King Forest lays down the deal. They have to stand up in public and declare that Fora is a true saint, someone who actually serves the Harvest Kingdom, then drag Lord Jopal's filthy wrongdoings into the light. If they say yes, he'll agree to swap vegetables later, and one of the guys goes wide-eyed in pure shock. Then the guards dropped into deep bows before King Forest and Flaffer, swearing they'd carry it out for sure, like they were grateful for the chance. But then Flaffer snaps to it, this talk might be wrapping up right now, and one of the guards blurts out that at this pace, they won't be able to keep it up. King Force suddenly feels something off while Flaffer is about to leave, so he demands answers. Then Flaffer grabs his attention and pleads, please, hold up, give me just a second. Flaffer blurts out that the Harvest Kingdom is getting crushed by food shortages, admits she knows exactly how brutal hunger is, and demands to know why they can't spare even a little food to help. King Force snaps with exasperation, but the guards just freeze there, waiting like statues, while Flaffer lets out a tiny, hopeful laugh. Then Flaffer strides in and declares, this time only, we're not trading, we're supporting. She points to the future like it's already happening, saying the royal garden's harvest will be ready soon and they can take every last bit with them. The three guards practically burst with relief, thanking them again and again like they just saved their lives. Later in the palace hallway, the guards march off with the provisions and someone straight up asks King Forest if he's really sure about this call. King Forest only shrugs, saying he doesn't care, because in the end it was Flaffer's heartfelt wish. Some folks stepped forward and poured out their gratitude to King Frost and the Saintess. They begged to be allowed to lend a hand with the harvesting, and then you told them right there that she'd join in too. A man leaned in and told the woman, fear of fear, it's simple, just break the cycle. He was just way too kind. Aqua couldn't believe it. Who would have ever thought their country would someday be strong enough to step in and help the Harvest Kingdom? And she told Thuriftherer it was all because of her, saying she believed she had zero choice, she'd have to jump in and help too. Fear of Fear leaned in and asked Aqua straight up if she was really coming with them. Aqua snapped back that they'd blink and suddenly morning would already be knocking at the door. Then she pointed out that, with Lady Furifer as the exception. She was the only one who remembered the coin's exact spots. So you smile back warmly and thank them. With no hesitation, they teamed up and started dropping the coins into place. Laughter burst through the air as they threw themselves into the work. That night, Lady Fear of Fear stared into the darkness and thought about just how wildly fun her day had been. Those gold coins were back and she could barely process it as they all came together again, piling up like the whole world was setting the stage for her. She couldn't stop smiling because Aqua had pulled the whole thing together at the end, and it felt like pure happiness. The moment she finally crashed into sleep, her mind lit up with dreams of shining gold coins. She figured it was probably because she'd been staring at them all day. Yet even as she lay there, it felt like her eyes were. His eyes stayed wide open, like he couldn't shut them even for a second. Hurifer finally stirred awake, then paused, should she dare to step out of her room for a bit or stay hidden. Just after she slipped her robe on, she tiptoed toward the door, when King Frost burst into the room, shocked to see her standing there. She leaned in and demanded, "What's wrong, tell me." Frost admitted they never got a chance to talk alone all day. Still, he couldn't shake the nerves about stepping into a woman's room at night, so he turned back toward his own room and waited there until morning. He shoved that aside in a blur and demanded to know where she was headed at this late hour, reminding her that the Harvest Kingdom's crisis had been put to bed for good. Even so, it was still a bad idea to roam the streets alone after dark. The Fura finally swallowed her pride and apologized, saying she was wide awake and just couldn't fall asleep. Frost then said, "If you want, we can stroll the garden around here. Are you okay with that, truly?" Frost snapped back that, at this hour, she really shouldn't be out there in the cold. In the garden, Frost softly called out to Fear, and she apologized for dragging her into the mess and for putting her in danger during that recent incident. Hurifer shot back right away, insisting it had nothing to do with him, and he reminded everyone that His Majesty Jalbar had come storming after her. Then she just breathed out, grateful that everyone stayed safe. Frost admitted that during Lord Jarpel's self-serving rant, he'd had a few moments where he practically wanted to throw a punch, but somehow he kept his emotions leashed. Furifer realized it had to be because she'd been standing right next to him, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd never be able to thank the two of them enough. She told him that Frost and Aqua had been by her side, so she managed to keep her cool the whole time. Frost made it crystal clear they weren't allowed to spark fights between nations. But when it came to Furifer, he just couldn't keep his cool anymore. Then he demanded, "Don't you dare leave my side." She gave a gentle nod, then the two of them pulled each other in for a tight, emotional embrace. After a beat, the Fura hesitated and blurted, "Wait, if we're never meant to be apart, does that mean we can even?" Even they scrubbed each other clean in the bath. Frost instantly panicked, blurted out that it wasn't appropriate and pushed back hard, saying they had to keep their relationship intact. Relationship wholesome. Hurifer answered with bright, innocent confidence, like she honestly believed that bathing together was wholesome and fun. Frost awkwardly blurted that, yeah, he'd probably have to learn a lot more about stuff like that. Aqua's fate will eventually come down to what matters most. As the days stacked up, Frost finally admitted he never once pictured himself landing in a moment this joyful, like it was too good to be real. It felt as if every single year of his life had finally paid off, right in that moment. He promised he'd give back the happiness she'd brought him, then yanked her into a fresh, fierce embrace. Then he leaned in and promised her this, to repay every ounce of pain she'd suffered. He wanted her to live with him in a small. Even if the world tried to break them, he'd still wear that smile, then step in and protect her with everything he had, promising they'd stay side by side forever. From then on, Gru was a wreck, nervous, shaking, and choking back emotion, and she vowed she'd never, ever leave his side again. From that moment on, her love for him burned hotter with every heartbeat. She prayed for a life bursting with laughter beside him, convinced they'd stay together forever and ever. After things finally calmed down, Frost blurted out that he'd reunited with Fear of Fear, and now he had to tell them for real. When she demanded to know who he meant, Frost leaned in and told her those were people she already knew, two friends from the orphanage. He barely managed to recall it. This wasn't just her and her brother in that place, other kids had lived there too. She asked if she'd ever truly see them again, and Frost snapped, Yes. Then he leaned in and explained how they'd all landed jobs and were grinding day after day to make their country stronger. They'd already slipped into the royal palace a few times by then. Ready, he figured that if he messaged them, she'd show up immediately, and then a fierce face lit up with pure joy as she said, He was dying to see them. Frost added that he wanted her to meet his friends too, because they'd fought through hell side by side just to finally get here. Frost once held a precious girl close, the kind of person who made his whole world feel warm. Every time he caught her cute, sister-like smile, his mood lit up, guaranteed, no exceptions, and she was someone truly special to him. He clung to every vivid memory from his childhood. Then one day, unsettling adults swept into the orphanage and snatched her away. He tried to stop them and begged them not to take her, but they rammed him aside and barked at him to get out of the way as they dragged her off. In that moment, Frost froze in fear, realizing just how powerless he really was, helpless to protect the one girl who meant everything to him. But he wouldn't quit. As long as he was still breathing, he swore he'd fight on. He vowed, no matter what it cost, that one day he'd find her and hold her with his own hands, and he swore it right there to himself. Then one quiet day under a shady tree, he suddenly spotted a carriage rolling toward him. Seeing it hit him like a punch, his heart thrashed in his chest, and he knew with total certainty it was the very same carriage that had. Because it stole his sister right out of his life. Then panic hit and one desperate thought flared up. What if she had come back? As he pushed closer, panic clawed at his chest while he frantically searched for his sister. Suddenly, a man snapped his voice up and blared that he had something huge to tell the kids. He barked orders for everyone to flood into the yard, right now. Frost stormed up and demanded to know if they'd come to take them to his little sister, and the guards wheeled around, asking who he was talking about. Frost snapped that he was talking about the girl who'd been taken away back then. One of the guards snapped back coldly that the king himself was smitten with her, and planned to lock her into an engagement with someone inside the royal palace, leaving Frost totally stunned. But the guard kept talking, waving it off like it was nothing, saying he had no reason to worry about that, while the kids standing nearby looked at him with contempt, even as the sentence faded. He called them pathetic brats, and still, they'd never even get the chance to grow up. From that day on, they were marked for disposal, and panic exploded across the children. The guards snickered and offered to spell it out in simpler words. Then an order came down to drag trash like them to the. They were dragged to the border and left there for good, no takebacks, no second thoughts. The decision was final. Then they claimed they'd haul everything onto the carriage themselves, and demanded the children be grateful for the favor. Guards didn't hesitate for a second. They grabbed the kids and hurled them into the carriage. As the guards yanked the kids and shoved them into the carriage, Frost screamed at the top of his lungs to stop. But they didn't listen, packed everyone in anyway, and tore off on their journey. Frost's mind was sprinting, because he never once dreamed things would spiral out like this. All around him, the other kids were sobbing in panic, and it hit him fast. This was deadly. Even if only he could think straight, he forced himself to stay calm, because if his sister really had become a royal fiancé, then maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't get treated as brutally as they were. As long as she was still alive, he could cling to the hope that somehow this nightmare might still turn out okay. From that moment on, it hit him. There was only one move left to make. No matter what it costs, he'll do anything, because one day he's bringing her back. When the guards hit the border, they jerked the children out of the carriage like they were disposable trash. A few kids mustered up the courage to ask in shaky voices if they'd get any food at all. Then the guards erupted into laughter and cruelly reminded them, "You already heard what we said. The children are being disposed of." As they geared up to leave, one guard sneered, "You've been tossed out. If you're hungry, scrape the dirt and chew it." Another one chimed in, "And listen, there are checkpoints at the royal capital. Even if those kids somehow crawl back, they'll never be let inside." The carriage rolled out, and the children crumpled into tears. Frost kept driving them forward, yelling that if they all teamed up, they could save themselves. Then out of nowhere, someone shoved him and snapped for him to stop butting into things that weren't his business. "Spot him and you'll know, he's that bossy boy, no doubt." The boy snapped in rage, demanding to know what Frost even expected them to do in a situation this hopeless. He insisted it was over, done, dusted, and there was absolutely nothing left to do. To do but die, like the only door left is the one that ends everything. Frost went dead silent for a beat. Those bossy boy's words rang out like a slap, the truth hitting hard in this godforsaken place. So what were they even supposed to do? Then Frost spotted a gap that cut straight into the jungle, and something inside him jolted awake, like he could feel danger breathing from that direction, the kind of gut-twisting premonition he'd felt before. Back then, those instincts only let him predict tiny stuff, where their rations were or what the weather would do. But the other kids still swore by his hunches like it was magic, and maybe, just maybe, that same gift could be the thing that kept them alive. But everyone was freaking out, and he was stuck with one question: how on earth was he supposed to get them to listen? Suddenly it hit him: every time he and his little sister played princess and king. So when that memory sparked, he shot his voice up and shouted for everyone, every single one. Everyone, calm down. He snapped that if they worked together and never surrendered hope, then a way forward would open up for them. His sudden authority slammed the room into silence, and the bossy boy pushed forward again, firing off questions about why Frost was suddenly acting so high and mighty. Then he demanded Frost face the situation realistically. Frost slammed the point home that his gut screamed rescue boat if they pushed that way, and the bossy boy hesitated, wondering out loud if it could really be true. The other kids started murmuring in sync, nodding along, hanging on to that one last sliver of hope. Frost admitted it was just a premonition, but it hit hard. If they all teamed up and headed that way, he was sure they'd make it out alive. Suddenly, a girl burst out that she was starving out of her mind and needed something to eat, right now. Frost leaned in and told her he had a strong gut feeling food was waiting deeper in the forest, and he pushed them to head there right now. The kids nodded and agreed. When Frost turned to the bossy boy to check if he was really on board with the plan, the kid snapped: he should. So stop calling him those strange names. Every time you do it, it lights a fuse in him. Still, he shot Frost a look and promised, I'll hear you out just this one time. The moment they stepped into the forest, they stumbled on fruit trees and a quiet little pond just waiting for them. When they stumbled on some mushrooms, one kid blurted out, shaky if they were even safe to eat. Frost's gut screamed to steer clear of that one, but he swore the others nearby were fine, so they listened, snatched the ingredients, cooked up a quick meal, and when they finally took a bite, they couldn't believe how deliciously satisfying it was. One of the kids said, yeah, it's not fancy, but it's still way better than what we had back at the orphanage, and the rest nodded and thanked Frost. Then another kid blurted, I'm starting to think we might actually make it as long as we keep listening to you. Frost's cheeks flamed from the praise, but the bossy boy snapped at him, warning him not to let it go to his head. But then he admitted this was the first time he'd ever stuffed himself like that, and even though he didn't want to, he still grudgingly thanked Frost too. Then one of the girls blurted out that they should finally give Frost a real name, Mr. Hunch, and crown him their king, and when Frost looked stunned, she smiled and said, if you're our king, you'll get to name every single one of us too. Frost realized it back at the orphanage. Nobody ever let them handle things on their own, and now, there was nobody left to stop them. The bossy kid strutted up to Mr. Hunch and pushed the name Frost like it was the only option. He said the idea hit him from that forest image. Now he'd step up and lead them, no questions. Then he grinned and told Frost, if you don't like it, I'll come up with something else. Frost's eyes flared with delight as he shouted that it was the perfect name, and he thanked him with real, heartfelt sincerity. Right then, he decided that if the bossy boy was bold enough to hand him an awesome name, he'd better think up an equally fitting one for him. No rushing, no shortcuts. After wrestling with his thoughts, he finally stepped up and proposed. He threw out the name Jeharu and leaned in, asking what you thought of it. The boy, this gay hero now, shot back that it wasn't so bad at all, then burst into laughter. Frost exhaled in relief, grinning because Jehir actually liked it, his first ever name he'd given someone. And then, just like that, thoughts of his little sister crashed back in, leaving him. He started to cry in a whisper, the kind of quiet pain that hurts the most. He wished he could have named her properly too. When he finally tilted his head up, he saw every kid lined up and staring at him, burning with excitement, just waiting for him to name them too. The sudden burst of noise hit him like a punch, and Frost then started naming them, one after another. Exhaustion finally crushed them, and the kids dropped into sleep right there. As Frost watched them rest, a calm wave of relief hit him, because if they stayed together, he truly believed they'd figure out how to live. Whatever fate throws their way, they'll smash through it together. After a few days passed, they all jolted awake again under the wide-open sky, and Frost couldn't stop wondering, How many days had they really been trekking since they first set out? When he glanced at the other kids, he saw the exhaustion stamped across their faces. Everyone was running out of steam. Right then, it hit him again. His intuition surged louder and sharper than ever, screaming the truth before his brain could even catch up. He could feel it, they were right there. He cranked up his voice and swore to everyone that based on pure instinct, they'd break free of the forest any moment. It was just a tiny bit farther, then the moment would hit. Fueled by fresh determination, he pushed them ahead. Then Frost suddenly caught sight of the forest's edge, and beyond it he stared into the horizon, and there it was, a whole town waiting in the distance. Relief hit the group like a wave, and the children burst into excited thanks for him. Frost shook his head hard and snapped, "No, this wasn't because of me." Then he pointed at them all and said they'd made it this far because they worked side by side and pushed each other forward every step of the way. Jaeher shot back that without Frost's hunch, they'd never have made it here. To him, it all happened because Frost had done it. They stepped toward town with shaky hope, but Frost couldn't shake that nagging worry, because even if they made it there, safety still wasn't guaranteed. Then out of nowhere, he spotted a carriage up ahead. Everyone went still, terror gripping the children. He whispered with nerves on full blast, asking if it was the same carriage as before, and then it rolled up and screeched to a stop right in front of them. He shot forward to block them all, then, just as quick, they noticed someone slipping out of the carriage. Right now, Frost and Furifer stood side by side in the garden, locked in the moment. She just kept staring at him in silence. Then she finally breathed out his name, soft as a secret. Frost threw out an apology and admitted he'd just been swept away, trapped in memories from the past. He reminded her that years ago he'd told her how he ended up in this country, and when she nodded, her eyes lit up like, "I remember," because that story had sounded like a total nightmare. Frost remembered the night he and the other kids trudged, step by step, through that endless frozen forest. They were supposed to be left behind in the Harvest Kingdom, but before they even caught their breath, they'd already slipped across the border into the Riverside Kingdom. Back then, he hadn't grasped how deadly things really were, because they'd slipped into a neighboring country illegally with zero paperwork or proper procedures. If they'd swaggered into that town like it was nothing and then got caught by the military police, the idea alone made everything feel shaky, like their lives could have been on the line, yet that fear gnawed at them because they never meant to hurt a single soul. Frost soothed her, saying the moment they landed, the very first person they ran into in this country hid them, and that's exactly how they got saved. Then he leaned in and asked if she could figure out who that mysterious person really was. So, if you've ever wondered whether this was someone she'd met before, it was confirmed, no doubt about it. He told them that he and every kid from the orphanage owed that person their hearts, and they were truly, deeply thankful. But he cut himself off, saying he couldn't spill the whole story yet, because someday that person would tell her. Hear their own story straight from their own mouth. When the moment finally hit, he grabbed her attention and told her to listen, every word, like it mattered. Furafur nodded gently, conceding without a fight. The very next day, Fiora practically buzzed with excitement. Today was finally the day she'd see everyone from the orphanage again. Frost showed up and demanded to know if she was ready. But the second he spotted her, he froze mid-sentence. He couldn't even finish. He snapped still with shock, because here you were, looking more gorgeous than ever. Frost just froze in shocked silence, catching his own reaction while his Fur asked softly if something was wrong. He snapped back fast, shaking his head and insisting nothing was wrong at all, then admitted the truth. He really was just an unbelievably lucky man. Nearby, Aqua beamed, soaking in her own handiwork like it was pure magic. She replayed every ounce of effort she poured into it, desperate for everyone to witness just how far Lady Fear of Fear had climbed. And to her, this wasn't just good, it was a full-on masterpiece because she'd truly gone all in. With gratitude blazing in her heart, Fear of Fear warmly thanked Aqua for everything she'd done.